Chapter 2273. Tianyun glanced at them indifferently. As for the decision, it was Tianyuan and the others' business, not him. Tianyuan thought for a while and took out a star venerable weapon. He came up to Tianyueming and handed it over. He said in a deep voice, "This is the price for my sister's freedom. Here are the other 2 star venerable weapons. We'll talk about them later." He didn't take advantage of Tianyun's power to refuse to give him the weapons. Instead, he fulfilled his promise and gave the weapons to Tianyueming. Tianyueming's eyes were filled with greed. He took the weapons without hesitation. Since it was Tianyuan who had given them to him, what else could Tianyun say? "Then I won't stand on ceremony." Tianyueming glanced at Tianyun. He was relieved when he saw Tianyun didn't react. "I'll wait for you to give me the other 2 star venerable weapons." The others were all envious. It was good enough to get a star venerable weapon. As for the star venerable weapon in the heavenly star ring's hands, Tianyuan didn't intend to hand it over. He thought it was good for the heavenly star ring. It was quite difficult to find a suitable weapon, and it was even more difficult to find a star-level weapon. Therefore, Tianyuan didn't intend to hand it over. He would wait until he had other weapons. "Brother Tian, here are 2 weapons. I'll lend them to you." Tianyun took out 2 star venerable weapons and gave them to Tianyuan. They were his trophies. Tianyuan was struck dumb, but he didn't think too much about it. He took them and nodded at Tianyun. Then he handed them over and said, "These are the last 2. After you take them away, the heavenly star ring will have nothing to do with the Tian family." Tianyueming was struck dumb. He sighed and took them. "From now on, you have nothing to do with the Tian family." Tianyueming had made this decision. He could only accept it. With Tianyun's ability, he might be able to break through to the divine star venerable rank in the future. He could have used his relationship with the heavenly star ring to protect the Tian family. Who knew that now that they had completely cut off all ties with Tianyun, it would have nothing to do with them anymore. This was his own choice. He couldn't regret it even if he wanted to. The rims of Tian Xinghuan's eyes reddened. She was still a little reluctant. After all, she had grown up in the Tian family. However, the way the Tian family did things was really too chilling. She was captured because they wanted to arrange a marriage alliance with the Tian family. Without her own choice, leaving the Tian family, she would not regret it. The surrounding cultivators were very envious of him. At the same time, he felt that Tianyuan was a bit stupid. With Tianyun as their backer, how would they dare ask for star venerable level weapons? Tianyuan had wasted the star venerable level weapon by doing this. To others, heaven-traveling Yuan was an idiot. As for Tianyun, he was very appreciative of Tianyuan's actions. It was undeniable that the Tian family was despicable, but it was the place where they had been raised. Even if Tianyuan had cut off all ties with the Tian family, he would still have paid the corresponding price for raising him. To put it bluntly, Tianyuan was a loyal person. With such a person by his side, he could be trusted to stand behind him instead of constantly guarding against him. This was the kind of person he admired the most. That was why he was willing to give 2 star venerable level treasures to Tianyuan to solve this problem. Besides, he could take all the star venerable level treasures in the purple gold divine pavilion. 2 star venerable level treasures were not worth mentioning. There were hundreds of star venerable level weapons in the weapon selection area they had entered. Why would they worry about not having enough weapons to use? It would be better to let Tianyuan repay the favor, so he wouldn't have to think too much about this. Tianyuan thought the same way. Since he owed Tianyun anyway, he might as well owe it to Tianyun and work for Tianyun from now on. After that, Tianyuan took a deep breath and said, "Brother thank you for your help. If I find star venerable level treasures in the future, I will return them to you." Let's talk about this later. Tianyun smiled. He believed Tianyuan, but he really wasn't in a hurry to get those weapons. Since there were so many people outside, he didn't want to expose his secret. At that moment, Jing Xen walked up to him. She said with a smile, "I didn't expect you to be the owner of the star Dharma idol of the desolate dragon planet. What a surprise." As soon as he said that, the surrounding people turned to look at him, their eyes filled with shock. They hadn't expected him to be the owner of the Star Dharma idol of the desolate dragon planet. Just as Candle Star had thought, the owner of the Star Dharma idol of the desolate dragon planet couldn't have a high level of cultivation. After all, resources were limited. They hadn't expected him to be so incredible. Miss Jing Xen, you kept probing me because you wanted to know whether I was the one from the desolate dragon planet, right? Yi Tianyun said with a smile. That's right. But young Master Yi hid it too well. You didn't want to use it. If you used it, you would be able to deal with the puppets on the 10th floor. Jing Xen smiled. Young Master Yi, would you like to visit the Chu family? Jing Xen directly invited Yi Tianyun here, which surprised everyone. Jing Xen is so bold, she directly invited Yi Tianyun. Could it be possible for them to be together? Now that he thought about it, it was truly terrifying. Unfortunately, the Zhu family was in a terrible situation. I don't have time for that. Let's talk about it later. Yi Tianyun smiled. He suddenly turned to look at the other practitioners and said in a deep voice, Since you don't have time, I will tell you something about the Giant Beast Clan. The Giant Beast Clan? They looked at Yi Tianyun in confusion. They didn't know what Yi Tianyun wanted to say. The Giant Beast Clan hasn't been wiped out. They have even infiltrated us. There are still many of them surrounding us. Yi Tianyun said in a deep voice. So, you should be prepared to fight against the Giant Beast Clan at any time. How is that possible? The Giant Beast Clan is almost wiped out. Why do we need to fight against them? That's right. They are almost wiped out. What do we need to fight against them? If they weren't afraid of Yi Tianyun's power, they would have scolded him a long time ago. How could they not be scolded for saying such stupid things? Yi Tianyun suddenly swung his hand. A few corpses were thrown on the ground. He said in a deep voice, Look carefully. Whose corpses are these? After taking a closer look, they widened their eyes in disbelief. This is the Giant Beast Clan? Chapter 2274. When they saw the corpses that Yi Tianyun threw out, they were all stunned. They did not expect that these were really from the Giant Beast Clan. On the surface, they were not as wild as the Giant Beast Clan. They were in the form of cultivators, which made them extremely shocked. Yi Tianyun throwing out these corpses at this time finally satisfied all the conditions. First of all, his strength was enough to deter others. This way, he would have authority to speak. Furthermore, he had more charisma. After he made some requests, there wouldn't be any fierce resistance. This is the evolved Giant Beast Clan. They have evolved to this extent. They can easily mix in among us and it is difficult to discover them. Yi Tianyun said in a deep voice, I only discovered this recently. When I discovered it, they had already spread throughout the entire Purple Gold Divine Pavilion. There are probably other ambushes outside. According to the latest news, it is very likely that they are lying in ambush outside. Their goal is very simple. They want to capture all of us in one fell swoop and then rule the entire Crimson Moon planet. Yi Tianyun said word by word. At this time, when he said it, it was much more convincing. It was not like before, when he said it out loud, he would be looked down upon. Their expressions now were different. Most of them were shocked. They did not expect that the Giant Beast Clan, which was almost wiped out back then, would now make a comeback. No wonder I have a bad feeling recently. I keep feeling that we will be in danger. Jing Xen stood up and said with a frown, So it is the Giant Beast Clan. Looks like the uneasy factor is this Giant Beast Clan. Jing Xen came to the side of the corpse and squatted down to examine it. She said in a deep voice, Yes, it is indeed the Giant Beast Clan. Even though the appearance has changed, the internal situation has not changed. This kind of evolution ability is very peculiar. It can constantly compress its previously huge physique and finally shrink it to the size of a normal cultivator. Because the physique is compressed, the power becomes more condensed. If we really fight, it will be difficult to deal with them in the same realm. Jing Xen analyzed one by one. Her analysis was very accurate, which made the cultivators at the side even more shocked. Yi Tianyun looked at Jing Xen who was squatting at the side. He had to say that Jing Xian was really fascinated in this aspect. As long as she was interested in something, she would continue analyzing it until she figured out the real situation. After studying everything, Jing Xian stood up and fell into deep thought. She seemed to be thinking about something, but the important thing was what the cultivators around her were thinking. In general, these are the reasons I want to say. I want you to be on your guard. Tianyun glanced at them and said solemnly, "If possible, I hope we can unite and fight against the giant beast clan together." Now, his words had the right to speak. When everyone heard this, they looked at each other. After a moment of silence, an elder of the clan stepped forward. "We agree. Since the giant beasts have come knocking on our door, we can't just sit and wait for death. They want to destroy us, so we'll destroy them again." I didn't expect the giant beast race to become like this. We wouldn't even know when they would sneak in and attack us from behind. I don't know. Is there any more detailed information? For example, the situation with the giant beasts, so that we can plan how to deal with them. All of a sudden, many clans gathered together to unite against the external threat. Previously, there was still some hostility, but immediately, there was some unity. When it came to dealing with the external threat, they seemed very united. After all, if they did not fight against the external threat, the giant beast race would take advantage of the situation. Especially now that they saw the giant beast race in such a state, it made them feel a sense of crisis. There isn't any detailed information. We don't know what their real situation is either. However, one thing is for sure. They are waiting for the purple gold divine pavilion to close so that they can reap the benefits. Tianyun might not have been able to guess other things, but he could at least guess this. If it weren't for the control of the purple gold divine pavilion, they wouldn't even have sent their clansmen in. Instead, they would wait for the cultivators to return from a rewarding journey before launching a ruthless sneak attack. When the time came, they would fight to the death inside and the giant beast race would come out to intercept them. One could imagine the situation. In that case, let's beat them at their own game. When the purple gold divine pavilion closes, we will look like we are scattered, but when the time comes, we will gather together and deal with them directly. This was the only solution that Tianyun could think of. Yes, young Master Yi's suggestion isn't bad. It's best to form a formation and charge over, especially a large-scale formation. Jing Xian interjected at this moment. According to my deduction, I have a vague feeling that this battle will be very difficult. It's very likely that we will be in danger. Obviously, the things they have prepared will be quite terrifying. Miss Jing Xian, do you have a way to deal with it? Tianyun looked at Jing Xian. He had to admit that Jing Xian was quite capable. I don't have a way to deal with it. My deduction isn't omnipotent. I can only predict a little bit of danger. Jing Xian thought about it and said, I can only say that we have to work together to deal with them. Otherwise, we will definitely lose. We have so many Grand Star Venerables here. Do we have to be afraid of them? That's right. We have so many Grand Star Venerables here, and we aren't fighting among ourselves. We won't fight to the death. It won't be so dangerous if we charge out, right? They did not really believe that the giant beasts were so powerful. They believed that the giant beast had made a comeback. However, they had never thought that so many experts of their clans would be gathered here. There were at least 100 Grand Star Venerables. Why would they worry about the giant beasts when they had such luxurious equipment? It's up to you whether you believe it or not. Jing Xian ignored them. Instead, she focused her gaze on Tianyun. However, I've deduced something. He can lead us out of this hopeless situation. Everyone was dumbfounded. Tianyun could lead them out of this hopeless situation. Tianyun was also dumbfounded. He had not expected Jing Xian to say that. Miss Jing Xian's premonitions have always been accurate. Then, the Tianyuan clan is willing to follow your orders. The Wind Dragon clan is also willing to follow your orders. All of them chose to follow Tianyun's orders after hearing Jing Xian's words. They immediately became more cohesive. As more and more clans joined in, some of them, who were reluctant at first, joined in the end. I know you want to unite. I'll help you. Remember to repay me after this. Jing Xian winked at him. Chapter 2275. Although Jing Xian was just making it up, it had to be said that her words had a more inciting effect. This was mainly because of her reputation. She could predict certain things, so basically everyone believed her words. As long as they weren't too extreme, they would believe her. For example, she predicted that the purple gold divinity pavilion was filled with countless dangers and that those who entered would die. No one would listen to her. Only God knew if she was lying to them on purpose so they wouldn't enter. Therefore, even if they had to risk their lives, they would still rush into the purple gold divinity pavilion. They didn't believe in such predictions, but some special ones would still believe it. For example, Yi Tianyun could lead them out of danger. Considering Yi Tianyun's strength, they still believed it. If Yi Tianyun was weak and often beaten up, they definitely wouldn't believe it. Yi Tianyun was rather grateful for Jing Xian's help. It was undoubtedly the best thing for them to be more cohesive. This way, when they fought their way out, even if they had to fight the giant beast race head-on, they wouldn't be defeated immediately. At the very least, it was enough that they wouldn't fight each other. After forming a united front, they continued to search for treasures. Those who had to train still had to continue. They were now waiting for the purple gold divinity pavilion to close. Once it did, there might be a huge battle. During this time, they could do whatever they wanted. Unbeknownst to them, the control of the purple gold divinity pavilion was now in Yi Tianyun's hands. He could close it whenever he wanted. He didn't even have to close it. However, he wasn't in a hurry. Divine Star Venerate Mei Qing had told him that he had to find some helpers. Naturally, he had to wait. Time passed quickly. Soon, it was time for the purple gold divinity pavilion to close normally. Every time the purple gold divinity pavilion appeared, it would close at a certain time. Therefore, they all calculated the time and gathered at the exit. They used the transportation array to return to the initial region. There were still some factions here that were still searching for the entrance to the passageway. They wouldn't give up no matter what. If they could go in, they might be able to collect some good stuff. Therefore, they wouldn't waste this opportunity. However, now that a large number of powerhouses surged out, they were all dumbfounded. With so many experts coming out, it meant that it was almost over. It was even more likely that they had finished plundering the place. Then why would they still go in? Great Star Venerable Heavenly Cloud, we're ready. We can rush out at any time. We're ready as well. Do you have any instructions? Groups of experts were waiting for Yi Tianyun's instructions. Unknowingly, they had all started to treat Yi Tianyun as the center. Perhaps this was the key to having strength. I don't have any instructions. Every family has a different way of fighting. It's too difficult to gather all of you. Just follow your own pace. I don't want to say anything unnecessary. I only want to say one thing, and that is, when we fight against the giant beasts, I will be at the forefront. Yi Tianyun's eyes were filled with fighting spirit as he looked at them. He was also prepared to fight at any time. Many families nodded. Fighting according to their methods was undoubtedly the most suitable. If he arranged some random methods, it might be even more troublesome. While they were preparing, a voice was suddenly heard. I'm back. Yi Tianyun did not look for the owner of the voice. The owner of the voice was none other than Mei Qing Divine Star Venerable. Since Mei Qing Divine Star Venerable was ready, it was almost time to act. He immediately controlled the purple gold divinity pavilion to close. This was the only way to start this battle. Rumble. The purple gold divinity pavilion began to shake. The people inside started to get restless. It seems like the purple gold divinity pavilion is closing a little early this time. It's almost time. The purple gold divinity pavilion doesn't even appear at a fixed time. It might close a little earlier. All right then. Get ready for a big battle. I hope nothing happens. They believed that the giant beasts were getting stronger and stronger. Since they had evolved to such an extent, they were definitely not simple. As for whether a large group of giant beasts would gather outside, that was not certain. In any case, they had to be fully prepared. It would be too late if they fell into the enemy's trap. Soon, before the purple gold divinity pavilion closed, they flew out of the main entrance. After they flew out one by one, there were still many cultivators waiting outside for the purple gold divinity pavilion's alms. It was as if nothing had changed. Everyone squatted outside to collect treasures. I don't think I saw any giant beasts. They glanced around, but they didn't see any giant beasts charging over, surrounding them so tightly that not even a drop of water could escape. Nothing had changed. It was as if everything Tianyun had said was fake. However, they did not let their guard down. They would not let their guard down until the entire purple gold divinity pavilion closed. Damn it, the purple gold divinity pavilion closed so soon? I didn't earn anything here. What a pity. I thought I could earn another galaxy-grade weapon. Who knew it would close so early? We can only wait for the next time. I don't know when the next time will be. The cultivators outside had no idea that the giant beasts would attack. They were all immersed in the disappointment of the purple gold divinity pavilion closing. Finally, when all the powerhouses had come out and the purple gold divinity pavilion was about to sink completely, dozens of black figures descended from above. They were still quite a distance away from them. Their appearance immediately attracted everyone's attention. The group of people was dressed in black and looked a little strange. As soon as they appeared, they quickly formed a hand seal and a terrifying black aura gushed out of their bodies. Then, the space started to distort, as if an alternative channel was being opened. What are they doing? Chu Hatong and the others frowned. They could not tell what was going on. They are summoning the Death's Door. Destroy them. Tianyun's expression changed. His speed exploded and he turned into a beam of light that charged towards the group of people in black. Summoning the Death's Door? How could they not know what the Death's Door was? After their expressions changed, they also charged forward. They did not expect to be met with such a move the moment they came out. Tianyun was also surprised. They could summon the Death's Door without the help of the Death Clan? Upon closer inspection, they seemed to have the aura of the Death Clan. Who knew how much energy they had absorbed from the Death Clan to achieve this? Chapter 2276. Tianyun quickly arrived in front of this group of mysterious people. The thunder saber appeared in his hand, and he aimed at one of them and swung it down. He could tell that as long as he struck down one of them, the gate of death would not be able to open. This was a whole body, and many people were needed to open it. It was not like the Death Clan, where one person was enough to open it. They did not need a lot of people. However, when he swung his saber, a huge figure suddenly charged over from the side and crashed into Tianyun. The lightning that swung down landed heavily on the figure pouncing over. Boom! The figure was cleaved into two and exploded in the air. Correspondingly, the attack was blocked, and the people who had opened the gate of death were not injured. Again! Tianyun did not stop. When he wanted to continue charging over, many figures quickly intercepted him and surrounded him. Tianyun took a closer look. They were all colossal beasts in the late stage of the Grand Star Venerate realm. They had strong bodies and power, and they charged at Tianyun. They are all colossal beasts. Tianyun shouted, informing the experts behind him. They are all colossal beasts. Chu Hatong and the others sucked in a breath of cold air when they saw this. The Grand Star Venerates that kept appearing were actually all colossal beasts? Their numbers kept increasing, and they came out from the sides in a frenzy. They were like a thick city wall attacking the group. They intercepted them and did not let them get close to the opening gate of death. Their goal was also very simple. They wanted to open the gate of death and release countless aggrieved souls to devour the experts here. It was that simple. This plan had not changed from what they had said before. The only difference was that the people who would open the gate would not be the Death Clan, but the colossal beasts themselves. It was possible to open it, but the difficulty was higher and the time it took to open it was a little longer. Hence, they needed a large number of colossal beasts to block them. Otherwise, if they were defeated before that happened, everything would be over. The colossal beasts were expressionless. They turned into steel giants and charged at the group. They did not fear death at all. They seemed to be throwing caution to the wind as they charged at the group. They would block as many of them as they could. Boom! Boom, boom. Terrifying attacks came at them, and the sky was filled with dazzling light waves. The forces that were collecting the treasures at the side were so frightened that they hurriedly retreated. Some of the slower ones were hit by the light wave and were sent flying, vomiting blood non-stop. This was a battle between Grand Star Venerates. Even Star Venerates were sent flying by the light waves, and those with lower levels would be severely injured, even if they did not die. Therefore, all of them ran away. How could they get close to a fight between immortals? They had no idea. How could they get close to a battle between gods? None of them expected that at the end, there would be such a shocking great battle. Everything felt inexplicable. They didn't know that the group in front of them were all from the giant beast race. They thought that it was just a battle between experts. However, as their auras continued to erupt, they clearly sensed a familiar aura from that group of people. It was the giant beast race. Giant beast race? They're actually from the giant beast race? Their expressions changed as they looked at the cultivators who looked exactly like them. They were actually from the giant beast race? Both of them and the figures behind them could tell they were beast. As they were the beasts, the spirit, a beast they saw. They of beast. Under such circumstances, they recognized it immediately, but still found it inconceivable. How did a cultivator in this form, and of the giant beast clan at that? Even if they knew that the other party was a member of the colossal beast race, it would be pointless. The weakest member of the colossal beast race was an early-stage great star venerate. There were no weaker colossal beasts. This made them unable to help even if they wanted to. As they continued to retreat, a large group of cultivators suddenly charged out from the side. They were all stunned, not knowing what was going on. Just when they thought it was the cultivators who came to help them, they charged over and attacked them without hesitation. After they came to their senses, they quickly defended themselves. As they fought, the aura that the other party revealed immediately made them realize what was going on. The group of cultivators in front of him was actually a mixture of the giant beast race, the green demon race, and the evil spirit race. Their expressions changed. How could there be these people running out, and they were even mixed together? No matter what, they could only brace themselves and fight them head-on. For a moment, the sky changed color, and they all entered the battle. Yin Yun frantically tried to break through the defense, but he was blocked. The densely packed giant beast race kept surging over, as if there was no end to them. Damn it, there are too many of them. Even though Tianyun unleashed a powerful force, it was still difficult to break through the defense. At that moment, Tianyun snorted and said, "Come out and help." Coming. A loud shout came from above, and an invincible giant palm pressed down from above. It was like a blue sky pressing down heavily. The powerful power of a divine star venerate could suppress everything. Its divine star venerate Mei Qing. They were overjoyed when they saw it. They did not expect divine star venerate Mei Qing to be there. More importantly, Tianyun seemed to have called him out to help just now. The giant palm pressed down fiercely, and the giant beast race blocking above the door of death were all smashed into meat paste. They could not block it at all. This was the true power of a divine star venerate. When the double-headed dragon star Dharma idol behind him was unleashed, it was the peak power of divine star venerate Mei Qing. Under this powerful force, these great star venerates were easily flattened like tofu. Break! Divine Star Venerate Mei Qing wanted to directly crush the condensed door of death. At that moment, more than half of the door of death had condensed, and there were vengeful spirits trying to come out from inside. Due to the instability of the space, they could not rush out from inside. They could only keep roaring inside, as if they had smelled the aura of life and wanted to break through the space to come out. Just as this palm was about to press down, a terrifying force came from the side. Boom! Divine Star Venerate Mei Qing's palm was blocked. At that moment, an extremely handsome cultivator appeared in front of everyone. He had a disdainful smile on his face. Sure enough, a Divine Star Venerate powerhouse has appeared. If I hadn't been prepared, I would have been ruined by you guys. Stay here and let these vengeful spirits purify this world. Tianyun looked at the handsome man who had appeared, and his eyes narrowed. The man in front of him was naturally not a cultivator, but a giant beast race. He had a perfect physique without a single flaw, and his cultivation had reached the early stage of divine star venerate. Chapter 2277. It was the first time that Tianyun had seen such a perfect giant beast race. He had really integrated the form of a cultivator to the most perfect degree. Its body wasn't big, but it possessed the powerful physique of the giant beast clan. Not only that, but they could also become more proficient in martial arts, which was the most terrifying part. Originally, they could crush cultivators with pure power. Now that they had the explosive power of martial arts, one could imagine how powerful they were. It could be said that they were much more difficult to deal with than the evil spirit race and the green demon race. The green demon race's physique was not that heaven-defying. Although they were disgusting, the situation of the giant beast race was even more disgusting. This made it very difficult for them to deal with. It could even be said that they were crushed. Divine Star Venerable Mei Qing had easily blocked his attack when he had fought against it. One could imagine how terrifying it was. Again, Divine Star Venerable Mei Qing naturally would not let him succeed. He quickly pulled out a dark long sword. This was his sword. It had reached the level of a medium-grade Star Venerable and was considered a good treasure. Double Dragon Slash. Divine Star Venerable Mei Qing waved the long sword in his hand and slashed forward heavily. The double-headed dragon whizzed out of the long sword. The two huge dragon heads bit towards the Gate of Death. His target was not the giant beast race, but the Gate of Death. Whether he had signed an oath with Tianyun or not, he would have done so. The Gate of Death was too troublesome. Anyone who knew about it would be scared by it. There were so many vengeful spirits inside, including many great Star Venerables. If there were more vengeful spirits of divine Star Venerables, it would be terrifying. Therefore, regardless of whether it was a mission or not, Divine Star Venerable Mei Qing had to destroy the Gate of Death first. With me here, do you think you can destroy the Gate of Death? Naive. The handsome giant beast took a step forward. The void shattered as he rushed in front of the attack. He opened his hands and grabbed at the void. He grabbed the two dragon heads and pressed them down with all his strength. Boom! The space was distorted. Divine Star Venerable Mei Qing's attack was directly smashed by his palm. Correspondingly, he was also knocked back a distance, but it seemed that nothing had happened to him. At most, his body was a little charred. He had used his power alone to blast apart the power of Green Eyebrow God Star Venerable, which was quite terrifying. Tianyun's eyes narrowed. This was definitely not purely relying on its physique. This gigantic beast must have cultivated some kind of physique technique that could greatly increase its physique. That was why it could produce such a shocking effect. The current giant beast had truly reached a heaven-defying level. At the very least, it could easily suppress Mei Qing God Star Venerable by relying on its physique alone. This power isn't bad, but as an opponent, you're still too weak. His original name was Trembling Dragon, and just as his name implied, he could shake any dragon clan. He was also trying to remember that the five-colored Emperor Dragon was their enemy. This power... Mei Qing God Star Venerable's eyes narrowed, but he laughed and said, "Unfortunately, you still lost." Before he finished speaking, a terrifying divine light swept over and pierced through the door of death. This divine light was not inferior to the attack of Mei Qing's Celestial Star Venerable. It was even slightly stronger, a Divine Star Venerable powerhouse. Another Divine Star Venerable powerhouse rushed out and blasted directly at the door of death in an extremely sudden manner. His speed was astonishing and sudden. However, Trembling Dragon's speed was even more astonishing. He spun rapidly under his feet and suddenly stomped on the ground. With a dong sound, a large part of the void shattered. He also turned into a beam of light and quickly intercepted the divine light. In the end, he had already blocked the divine light before it blasted into the door of death. Boom! The divine light bloomed, but it was still some distance away from the door of death, so it couldn't be destroyed at all. On the other hand, a large part of Trembling Dragon's body had caved in. It was obvious that he had used his physique to forcibly withstand this move. After the surrounding cultivators saw this, they fiercely sucked in a breath of cold air. This was really too heaven-defying. If they had used their physiques to block it, not even dregs would have been left. Trembling Dragon had used his physique to block it, but he had been able to forcibly withstand it. It didn't seem like there was much of a problem. At most, he would have suffered some minor injuries. The large part that had caved in quickly healed as he breathed. Not only did the giant beast race have a strong physique, but they also had powerful healing abilities. What a cunning cultivator! I didn't expect that he would have another helper. This is unexpected. Trembling Dragon's eyes were cold as he looked forward. A white figure appeared on the side. He looked elegant and graceful. He held a feather fan in his hand and looked over with a serious expression. I didn't expect that he would be blocked like this. Divine Star Venerable Jade Mist's expression was solemn. He had been invited to help by Divine Star Venerable Mei Qing. At first, he didn't want to come, but when Divine Star Venerable Mei Qing said that they would deal with the giant beast race, he chose to take action. Moreover, he had been half believing and half doubting. Now, it seemed that the giant beast race in front of him was quite troublesome. If this continued, the door of death would definitely be fully opened. Let's attack together. Let's see how long he can resist. Divine Star Venerable Jade Mist's eyes turned cold. He waved the feather fan in his hand and attacked downwards. Divine Star Venerable Mei Qing didn't say anything else and also attacked. Now that things had come to this, there was nothing more to say. There was only one word: kill. You've come at the right time. Let me see what you can do to me after losing your advantage. Dragon Shocker's eyes were full of killing intent, but more than that, he felt like he had been cleansed of humiliation. Back then, they had been defeated with only their physiques. Now that they had combined all their advantages, they wouldn't be defeated. One beast against two, they launched a frenzied attack in the air. This area was filled with desolation by the three Divine Star Venerables. Mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. Tianyun could only force his way in. He killed the beasts along the way and broke through. No matter what, he had power close to that of a Divine Star Venerable. After killing his way in, he aimed at the door of death and slashed down. As long as he hit one of them, the door of death would collapse on its own. However, when the saber slashed down, another figure suddenly flashed over. With a light flick of the hand, the sharp saber light disappeared without a trace. It was a beautiful woman, but Tianyun felt an extreme sense of danger. She was a Divine Star Venerable powerhouse. He hadn't expected that there would be a Divine Star Venerable beast lurking on the side. You're quite interesting. You managed to kill your way through so many great Star Venerable beasts, but this is the end. The woman reached out to grab Tianyun. Her hand wasn't big, but it was like an inescapable net. It locked down all of Tianyun's escape routes. He didn't even have a chance to escape. Retreat. Chapter 2278. Tianyun quickly retreated, but his speed still couldn't match the woman's. The woman's speed is also extremely amazing, rushing towards Tianyun at an extremely fast speed. She caught up to Tianyun almost instantly and reached out to grab him. Trying to escape? The beautiful woman didn't even smile. She looked very frightening. The giant beast race was originally a giant beast, so they didn't usually smile. Even if they turned into cultivators, they didn't like to smile. Their expressions even looked a little stiff. Tianyun's eyes narrowed. Just as he was about to use the teleportation divine stone to escape, a sharp light suddenly pierced through and cut off the woman's power, trapping Tianyun. At the same time, it rushed over and blocked the woman. If you want to kill him, ask me first. Another cold light quickly rushed over and flicked the woman away. Another beautiful woman appeared in front of Tianyun. This beautiful woman was called Zhanilun, and she was also a Divine Star Venerable. Of course, she was also a helper that Divine Star Venerable Mei Qing had found. For such an important matter, she would definitely find a few more Divine Star Venerables. Divine Star Venerable Mei Qing's relationship with her was average. She was purely looking for her to ask if the giant beast race had appeared and if she wanted to deal with them together. Jean Elan didn't agree immediately. Instead, she thought for a while before deciding to follow. She didn't expect the giant beast race to really appear. Jean Elan was originally observing from the side, figuring out where to sneak and attack on the death's door. Coincidentally, Etiennen's attack was blocked by the giant beast race's divine star Venerable, so she could only act quickly. If she didn't deal with this woman, she wouldn't be able to destroy the death's door. Leave her to me. You go destroy the death's door. Jean Elan said coldly. Etienne nodded and didn't say anything. He quickly shuttled to the side and went to destroy the death's door. The beautiful woman raised her eyebrows and quickly turned to intercept Etienne. Jean Elan quickly intercepted her and said coldly, "What are you trying to do? If you want to go, deal with me first." Jean Elan's eyes were cold. They were both women. She wanted to see if the women of the giant beast race were stronger or weaker than her. Then let's fight. The beautiful woman didn't waste any more time with her and immediately started fighting with her. Etienne quickly moved to the side, feeling somewhat shocked. No wonder he did not know where the true headquarters were even after capturing the Grand Star Venerate level beasts. Above them, there were still the two Divine Star Venerables. Only they had absolute authority over information. Most importantly, only a small portion of the giant beasts knew of their existence. They usually wouldn't appear. Etienne did not think too much about it. He once again charged towards the Death's Gate. If he did not succeed this time, the Death's Gate might really open. Now, it was just a little bit away from being opened. At that time, it would be too late even if he wanted to destroy it. He could only forcefully close it. Just as he was about to rush to the door of death, another figure rushed over, directly smashing towards Etienne, shattering the space. Etienne felt a sense of impending doom coming from above, which made him shocked. He quickly dodged. Before the attack landed, he had already used the teleportation divine stone to escape to another area, perfectly dodging the attack. After the attack missed, it smashed into the ground. With a boom, a huge crater appeared within a radius of 1,000 miles. A huge fist imprint appeared on the ground just like that. There's more. Etienne's gaze froze in the distance. An extremely strong man appeared in front of him. His muscles bulged, containing explosive power. This was another Divine Star Venerate. He had not expected the giant beast race to also have 3 Divine Star Venerates. What was the point of fighting like that? Even 1 against 2, they were not at a disadvantage. In a one-on-one situation, Jean Elan was clearly at a disadvantage. As for the strong man in front of her, who could deal with him? Hey, you can still dodge my attack. Looks like the treasures on you aren't bad. Ba Hao was a little surprised. His lock-on attack had actually been ineffective. The other party had still escaped. I didn't expect you to have so many Divine Star Venerates. Why didn't you all come out at the beginning? Do you all like to hide? Etienne looked at Ba Hao, then swept his gaze around to see if there were any other Divine Star Venerates who had not come out. I'm just learning from you cultivators. I hide. This way I can catch them off guard and the effect will be better. Ba Hao smiled, not at all anxious. In any case, their goal was to open the door of death. After opening the door of death, there would naturally be things to deal with cultivators, saving them some effort. Everyone's expressions turned ugly. With so many Divine Star Venerates here, how could they deal with them? Unless they found another Divine Star Venerate. But this was Wild Dragon Planet, not Scarlet Moon Planet. If this was Scarlet Moon Planet, there would definitely be other Divine Star Venerates coming out. After all, when sensing the situation outside, some old fellows in seclusion would choose to come out. Facing the giant beast race, they could only choose to come out. They couldn't only choose to come out after seeing their home destroyed, right? Now that they were on Wild Dragon Planet, things were different. This wasn't a good environment. Even Divine Star Venerates wouldn't cultivate here. Hence, no matter how much trouble they caused here, they wouldn't be able to sense it. Mei Qing's Divine Star Venerate abilities were limited. Chapter 2279. The opening of the Gate of Death basically announced the success of the enormous beast scheme. They had not expected that they would succeed in carrying out their plan and open the Gate of Death. After opening the Gate of Death, a large number of enormous beasts started to retreat. However, the great star venerables who had opened the Gate of Death all exploded and died. After opening the Gate of Death, it seemed like their life force disappeared. This was the price of opening the Gate of Death, and it was quite tragic. It's over. It's over. The enormous beasts don't even need to do anything. We're done for. I didn't expect to die here after coming to Desolate Dragon Planet. I'm most afraid of being possessed by those resentful souls. Even my corpse won't be able to rest in peace. How does the Gate of Death close? Will it always be open? I read the records. The Gate of Death won't always be open, but it will be open for a long time. By the time it closes, this place will have turned into hell. They did not know how long it would be. Even if it was open for a month, they would still be doomed. This could be seen from the current situation of the Gate of Death. Hundreds of resentful souls would come out in a breath of time. Who knew how many would come out in a month? The number was not important. What was important was that there were a lot of powerful resentful souls. If they came out in a frenzy, it would be enough to exhaust them to death. The resentful souls of the Great Star Venerables were especially numerous. These resentful souls of the Great Star Venerables could not compare to the living Great Star Venerables. However, in terms of numbers, they could sweep everything. There were many living Great Star Venerables, but there were even more dead Great Star Venerables. This was why everyone's expressions changed when they heard that the Gate of Death had opened. This was too horrifying. It was simply a nightmare. Normally, seeing the resentful souls of their friends or relatives would make them happy. However, these resentful souls had come to possess them, so there was nothing to be happy about. Most importantly, there were too many resentful souls. It would be difficult to find their relatives. The area inside the Gate of Death was vast. The space opened was just a small area. They might not be able to find the resentful souls of their relatives. Only the Death Clan could accurately find the location of the vengeful spirit. While everyone was in despair, Etienne-Yun's gaze turned cold. He shouted, "Come, seal it." At this time, two figures quickly flew from the side and came to Etienne-Yun's side. They immediately released a black energy that surged forward and shrouded the door of death. Close it. These two people were none other than the Death Clan's patriarch and princess. They were the two existences that could open the Gate of Death and close it together. Others might not be able to close it, but they could close it together. Of the Gate of Death. On the surface of their bodies, they were constantly releasing black energy rings so that the vengeful spirits wouldn't attack them. Only then could they safely close the door of death. Soon, the Gate of started to close. When the cultivators saw this, they cheered. They had thought that they had lost all hope. They did not expect that the Death Clan would appear to help them close the door. As long as the door was closed, the battle might not be over. At the very least, there would not be a one-sided suppression. Death Clan, I knew you were hiding. Ba Hao and the others appeared on the side. They had retreated, but that didn't mean they would leave planet Desolate Dragon immediately. Instead, they hid on the side and formed a powerful barrier to protect them. They wanted to see the entire planet Desolate Dragon filled with resentful souls. Only then would they choose to leave. They would be fools if they thought they could leave immediately after opening the gate. They were worried that the Death Clan would appear. That was why they had been guarding the side. Now that the Death Clan had appeared, they weren't surprised. The Death Clan had been rescued, so they must be hiding somewhere. They had opened the Gate of Death not only to kill this group of experts, but also to force the Death Clan out. Now that they had forced the Death Clan out, they had appeared again. Divine Star Venerables weren't easy to deal with. There were 3 Divine Star Venerables on Mei Qing's side. After the fight just now, all of them wore solemn expressions. They were extremely shocked by the power of the giant beasts. It could be said that they would be hard to deal with in a one-on-one fight. They might even be suppressed. What was more frightening was that the other party's martial arts weren't very smooth. They would need to familiarize themselves with it for a long time before they could execute it perfectly. However, they could still suppress them under such conditions. It was enough to show how frightening the giant beasts that could use martial arts were. If they continued to practice, they would be even more heaven-defying. In other words, if they had the star aspect, they would be even more frightening. They would be practically invincible. Fortunately, they could only use martial arts. If they could really use the star aspect, it would be terrifying. Who would be able to beat them then? Unless one's cultivation greatly exceeded his opponent's, they would be crushed if they were at the same level. The three of them could only block 2 people at most. How could they block the remaining one? If they couldn't block all of them, the Death Clan wouldn't be able to close the Gate of Death. Tianyun alone wouldn't be able to block them. The difference in cultivation was too great. There was no way to deal with them. Even if they used all kinds of powers, they were still a long way off. Don't even think about it. Divine Star Venerates Mei Qing and the others gathered and stood in front of the Death Clan. You were beaten so badly by us before that you couldn't even speak, and you still dare to block us? Ba Hao and the others sneered. It was already difficult to deal with them one-on-two, let alone one-on-one. Everyone's expressions were grim. At this level of cultivation, the great star venerates below them couldn't do anything at all. There were a lot of them. Putting aside the vengeful spirits, it was impossible for them to fight a divine star venerate as a group. Unless this group of great star venerates gathered together and formed a whole body, they could only gather their power and form an attack to deal with a divine star venerate. However, it was too difficult. Most of them weren't familiar with each other, so it was especially difficult to control this formation. Which one of you has Star God Herb? Tianyun transmitted his voice to the 3 divine star venerates. This was all he needed now. As long as he had this Star God Herb, he could break through to the divine star venerate level. Once he broke through to the divine star venerate level, these giant beast races divine star venerates would definitely be crushed by him. Star God Herb? The 3 of them were stunned. Jean Elan hesitated for a moment before saying, I have it. Do you want to use it to break through to the divine star venerate level? Chapter 2280. Tianyun had only asked casually. Generally speaking, divine star venerables were very rich. They might really have such treasures. They might have found them for their own breakthroughs and kept the extras after they succeeded. At the same time, they might have prepared them for their disciples. I can give you the Star God Herb, but what can you give me in exchange for it? Jean Elan did not give him the Star God Herb directly. She was still bargaining. Even in such a dangerous situation, she still chose to bargain. Even if the desolate dragon planet was destroyed, it would have nothing to do with her. She just did not like the giant beasts. After all, his Star God Herb was extremely precious. Many star venerables wanted it. It would be a great loss if she gave it away so casually. What do you want in exchange? Tianyun asked immediately. It's very simple. I need 5-star venerable level treasures. The Star God Herb was originally for my disciples. If you need it urgently, I can give it to you. However, whether you can break through or not has nothing to do with me. Finding these 2 divine herbs did not mean he would definitely succeed. There were also many failures. Otherwise, there would not be so few divine star venerables. There were many grand star venerables, but there were only a few divine star venerables. 5-star venerable level treasures? No problem. Tianyun answered readily. He had thought he wanted something else, but it turned out to be star venerable level treasures. He was in control of the purple gold divine pavilion and had hundreds of star venerable level treasures. 5-star venerable level treasures was not a problem at all. Jean Elan was shocked. She had thought Tianyun would bargain for a while. She had not expected him to be so straightforward. They would not even be able to find so many star venerable level treasures. Since you're so straightforward, I'll give it to you first. Jean Elan flicked the Star God Herb to him. If you die, I don't need you to pay me back. I wish you success. Jean Elan was not afraid that Tianyun would go back on his word. If he broke through to the Divine Star Venerable level, he would get 5-star Venerable level treasures. If he failed, he would have to return 5-star Venerable level treasures. But if he died, he would not have to return anything. Jean Elan didn't directly let Yi Tianyun hand over the treasures first. Instead, she gave them to Yi Tianyun first, which was very humane. Although it didn't seem easy to propose a price at such a critical juncture, there wasn't much of a difference between discussing it first and then giving the Star God Grass. Thank you. After receiving the Star God Grass, Yi Tianyun quickly took out the other broken Zun flower. The 2 conditions had been fulfilled. Help me stop them. No problem. Mei Qing Divine Star Venerable and the others quickly unleashed their strongest powers. Although they couldn't kill them, they could stop them for a while. No matter what, it was 3 against 3. Faced with the humiliation from before, they had to unleash their full strength and suppress their opponents for a period of time, so that Yi Tianyun would have more time to break through. However, they were still worried. Regardless of whether they succeeded or failed, even if they succeeded, Yi Tianyun had only improved the Star Dharma Laksana to the 5th level. This meant that Yi Tianyun still had to continue breaking through to become a real Divine Star Venerable. There was a big gap between them, which meant that he would need to break through twice. No matter which time it was extremely difficult. Regardless, they could only resist. After all, even if Yi Tianyun hadn't broken through, they would have rushed to resist so that the Death Clan could continue to close the gate. Yi Tianyun was just doing this in passing, and it didn't conflict with the original plan. This time, let's see who will suppress who. Mei Qing Divine Star Venerable snorted. He had been suppressed by Yi Tianyun for too long, and now he completely unleashed it. The power of the Star Dharma Laksana of the double-headed dragon was completely released. The other 2 also unleashed their powerful Star Dharma Laksana, and they exerted their invincible power to suppress the giant beasts. But they didn't change their expressions, and they attacked directly. Boom! They attacked each other crazily. For a moment, it was hard to tell who would come out on top, and the situation became white-hot. The giant beasts were still suppressed when they went all out. They couldn't deal with them as easily as before. Interesting. Let's see how long you can last. Ba Hao and the others sneered and continued to attack the giant beasts. As for Yi Tianyun, who was breaking through, they didn't care about him at all. All they cared about was the Death Clan. Moreover, they didn't even need to attack. The other major Star Venerate giant beasts rushed toward the Death Clan. Their target had changed to killing the Death Clan. The other Grand Star Venerables would definitely not let them have their way. They all went up to stop the giant beasts. Only the resentful spirits, regardless of race, went to bite them. For a moment, the 3 forces were mixed together, and it was very chaotic. Jing Exen and the others below all looked at Yi Tianyun in surprise. They hadn't expected Yi Tianyun to choose to break through at this time. However, how could he break through here? This place was very chaotic. If he broke through, he would definitely be disturbed. Of course, Yi Tianyun wasn't that stupid. He raised his hand. Suddenly, the ground next to him rumbled. The purple gold divinity pavilion appeared again. Great! The purple gold divinity pavilion appeared again. Those with low cultivation can hide inside temporarily. Yi Tianyun shouted. When everyone saw the purple gold divinity pavilion, their eyes lit up. They didn't know why the purple gold divinity pavilion had appeared again. No matter what, the appearance of the purple gold divinity pavilion gave them a huge fortress to hide in. They wouldn't have to fight with them in this spacious area. Mei Qing Divine Star Venerate was speechless. The purple gold divinity pavilion was Yi Tianyun's to begin with. He could come out whenever he wanted. Yi Tianyun had summoned it not only to hide inside but also to give those with low cultivation a better place to hide. However, most of the major star venerates couldn't hide inside. It wasn't that they didn't want to hide, but if they hid inside, who would protect the Death Clan? The Death Clan couldn't hide inside the purple gold divinity pavilion to close the Death's Gate. They had to do it outside. Entering the purple gold divinity pavilion was equivalent to being isolated. Even though Yi Tianyun was the master, he couldn't do that. After all, the purple gold divinity pavilion was sealed. There were so many powerful star patterns. How could they control the Death's Gate? If they could control it, he would have let the Death Clan in long ago. He wouldn't have foolishly let them control it from outside and become their target. You must hold on. Please. Tianyun quickly rushed into the purple gold divinity pavilion after saying that. Chapter 2281. After entering the purple gold divine pavilion, Tianyun found a safe area and quickly stuffed the 2 divine medicines into his mouth and began to absorb them frantically. He was racing against time. If he was any slower, he would really be done for. Mei Qing Divine Star Venerate definitely couldn't deal with them. He could only temporarily unleash a powerful burst of power to suppress the giant beast race. Unless the giant beast race was careless, nothing would happen to them. With their powerful physiques, they could definitely withstand all the attacks. When Mei Qing Divine Star Venerate and the others were exhausted, what awaited them was failure. Therefore, he had to quickly break through and reach the Divine Star Venerate level. At that time, he wouldn't dare say that he could absolutely crush the giant beast race, but at least the difference in strength wouldn't be so great. When the 2 divine medicines entered his mouth, an explosive energy exploded in his body. Tianyun's body immediately swelled up, as if he was being inflated. No wonder he could fail. If he didn't guide such terrifying energy properly, it would cause an explosion. Not only would he fail to break through, but he would also be seriously injured. If he wanted to break through, the price he had to pay was not low. If he wasn't careful, he could die right away. What surging energy! Suppress it! Tianyun frantically mobilized the energy in his body and guided it to his limbs. Following that, a surge of energy shot up into the sky. The 7-colored emperor dragon above him began to dance, its figure gradually extending towards the 8th color. It was like using paint, smearing it up bit by bit. However, the speed was rather slow. These 2 divine medicines were like paint, smearing the 7-colored emperor dragon bit by bit. Originally, these 2 divine medicines existed to upgrade the star dharma powers. After gathering enough energy, they would start to upgrade the star dharma powers. If the upgrade failed, then the previous results would naturally disappear. If the upgrade was successful, then there wouldn't be any major problems. If he succeeded, he would advance to a higher level of the star dharma powers. However, this process was extremely difficult. He needed to constantly guide and release the energy. Only when the star dharma powers had completely advanced would it be considered over. There couldn't be even the slightest failure along the way, so the conditions were extremely harsh. At that moment, Tianyun felt like he was about to explode. His body was filled with all kinds of energy, and he had to slowly guide it out to upgrade the star dharma powers. It was like a person whose stomach was about to explode from eating too much and still had to exercise. And the exercise was not easy. It was the kind of exercise that could cause one's stomach to explode. Tianyun's face was expressionless as he continued to guide the energy upward, continuing to strengthen his unique star dharma idol until it was completely formed. While Tianyun was working hard, he was also in a tough battle outside. Be it the giant beasts or the cultivators, they were all caught up in a tough battle. Especially with all sorts of vengeful spirits causing trouble, the giant beasts weren't having an easy time. If the vengeful spirits only targeted cultivators, that would be the end of the world. Now that both parties were attacked, it was considered fair. The fight between Mei Qing Shin and Star Venerables had reached the climax. The sky and the ground in front of them were collapsing, and the void was broken. If anyone below the Star Venerable level approached them, they would be completely destroyed. Divine Star Venerable Mei Qing and the others were fighting against the giant beasts. They hadn't been on good terms before, but now they were like brothers, helping each other. They hadn't been on good terms before, but facing so many powerful opponents, they had to work together. They hadn't been willing to do that, but facing so many powerful opponents, they had no choice but to work together. If they didn't work together, they would only die faster. Damn it, how could this be? Chu Hetong and the others cursed. They had come to the Purple Gold Divine Pavilion to get treasures, but they had been besieged as soon as they came out. This is a crisis. No wonder I felt so threatened earlier. Jing Xen was also fighting against the giant beasts and the divine spirits. Fortunately, she was strong enough to move around easily. At the same time, she looked up and murmured, "I wonder if they can hold on?" When Jing Xen and the others thought they could hold on, the Grand Star Venerables on the sides suddenly collapsed. A group of giant beasts charged toward the Death Clan. Oh no, they broke through. Chu Hetong and the others shouted. They wanted to go help quickly. If the Death Clan was defeated, they wouldn't have the chance to close the Death Gate. When countless divine spirits came out, it would be their time to die. However, they found they couldn't leave at all when they wanted to go save people. They were also fighting against a group of giant beasts, and there were a lot of them. They didn't know where these giant beasts were hiding. As soon as they came out, they saw a group of giant beasts charging toward them crazily, which scared them. Under such circumstances, they couldn't help them at all. Seeing that the Death Clan was about to be attacked, a large number of powerhouses suddenly rushed over from the side. Like madmen, they rushed over and fought with the group of giant beasts. They had powerful fighting prowess and shocking fighting methods. They were all Grand Star Venerables. Most importantly, they didn't seem to be afraid of death. They were even crazier than the giant beasts. The giant beasts weren't afraid of death, so they were even less so. "If you want to come over, you'll have to go through us first." A beautiful figure appeared in front of everyone. They saw Shi Shuiyun charging over with a large group of powerhouses. The first group that charged over was actually the puppets Yi Tianyun had made. Before coming to the Purple Gold Divine Pavilion, Yi Tianyun had made many puppets like crazy. He knew they would have to face many giant beasts, so he made as many as he could. Shi Shuiyun's side was even more well-trained. Among them, the Formation Eyes were Grand Star Venerables, while the rest of the Star Venerables gathered together to form a large formation. When they gathered together, they turned into a giant that attacked the giant beasts charging at it. It was like an invincible powerhouse, and none of the giant beasts could get close to it. This was the strongest joint formation. It gathered thousands of powerhouses and formed a large formation. In the end, it took the form of a giant that could sweep away thousands of enemies. Such a giant's power instantly reached the peak Grand Star Venerables level. It was even close to becoming a half-step Divine Star Venerable. This was the powerful effect brought about by cohesiveness. Their cultivations weren't strong, but when they gathered together, their fighting prowess could sweep away everything. Chapter 2282. Chu Hetong and the others were dumbfounded. They had never seen such a cohesive force before. This was called the Giant Formation. It allowed tens of thousands of cultivators to gather into one and take the form of a giant. The advantage was obvious. When they gathered together, they could form an extremely powerful giant with shocking battle prowess. This was especially true when the cultivators' cultivations weren't high. After they gathered together, they would accumulate, and their power would naturally increase. It could be said that these giants were much stronger than them. If they fought them head-on, they would definitely lose. This was the advantage of the Giant Formation. It was a very powerful formation. Its disadvantage was also obvious. It required close cooperation. Without tacit cooperation, it was easy to fail in mastering astral power. With so many cultivators gathered together, if they wanted to use this formation, the astral power output by each cultivator had to be especially balanced. Any excess would be unacceptable. Any excess could easily destroy the balance. By then, they would be done for, and the formation would be destroyed. If something went wrong, they might all suffer. They might even be seriously injured before facing the enemy. Therefore, the giant formation had its advantages, but it also had a great disadvantage. If those with average cultivations wanted to turn the tables, they could only use the giant formation. They were all Star Lords and Star Venerables, yet they could reach the power of a half-step Divine Star Venerable. How could this advantage not be shocking? The problem was that it was difficult to cooperate. This was the reason why few of them used it. However, there were more than 10 giants in front of them. They could send the giant beasts flying with great proficiency and protect the Death Clan. This meant that their degree of cooperation was quite terrifying. Such a terrifying cohesiveness shocked the great clans. Which clan could cultivate such an astonishing cohesiveness? At least they couldn't. Even if they could, they would have to pay a huge price. It wasn't worth it at all. It would be better to cultivate some talented ones so that they could break through to the late Grand Star Venerable level, or even the Divine Star Venerable level. That woman is so stunning. Jing Exen was surprised when she saw Shi Shuiyun, who was giving commands on the side. Shi Shuiyun's cultivation was not high. She was only in the late Star Venerable level, but she could command all the giants, making it easy for them to deal with the enemy. She found it incredible that she could control the overall situation so well. Such a demeanor made her feel inferior. The others looked at Shi Shuiyun in shock. How could there be such a woman? In such a big scene he was not afraid at all. His cultivation was obviously not very strong, but he could control everything. This was the power of Yi Tianyun. After training for so long, they had finally achieved something. Perhaps they had started out relatively late and their cultivation was relatively low, but their cohesiveness was extremely strong. This was the best proof. After condensing, the power of all the great families became extremely dim. The most frightening thing was that there were so many giants in the formation. How exactly did they train to be able to train such a coordinated team? None of the families present had ever seen this power before. If they had, they would definitely have an impression of it. To be able to train so many cohesive cultivators, the family must not be simple. However, no matter how they looked, they could not see any familiar faces. They were all unfamiliar faces that they had never seen before. He had never seen the beautiful woman in the lead before. He should have met a woman with such control. She was just like Jing Exen. Such a capable woman would definitely spread throughout Crimson Moon Planet. However, they had never seen her before, which made them feel very shocked. The sudden addition of a power left them dumbfounded. They searched their minds again and again for which power it was. While they were thinking and fighting, Shi Shuiyun had already led a powerful team to constantly bombard the giant beasts around them. For a moment, neither the giant beasts nor the vengeful spirits could approach the Death Clan. These giants even formed a circle, forming another formation, firmly guarding this place. As long as they were not facing a Divine Star Venerable, they could easily resist. When this scene fell into the eyes of Ba Hao and the others, their faces became more and more gloomy and terrifying. They did not expect the other party to have such a trump card, which shocked them greatly. According to this situation, the Death Clan would not be disturbed, and they would definitely be able to close the Gate of Death. Once the Gate of Death closed, their plan would be in vain. They did not know how much effort and time they had spent preparing for this plan. If they were to open it again, they would have to prepare for a period of time again to be able to do this. However, they could not wait that long. Most importantly, this was a rare opportunity. They originally wanted to use this opportunity of the Purple Gold Divine Pavilion to eliminate the many powerhouses of Crimson Moon Planet. When the time came, it would be very easy to occupy Crimson Moon Planet. If they lost this opportunity, it would not be so easy to deal with the next time. The price they would have to pay would be even greater. You damned cultivators, break for me! Ba Hao and the others roared angrily. Their combat power soared, wanting to repel their opponents. Don't even think about it. Mei Qing Divine Star Venerable and the others also unleashed their power to resist them. The more desperate their opponents were, the more anxious they were. Otherwise, why would they be so desperate? This situation was actually a good thing for them. For a moment, the battle in this area quickly reached a white-hot stage. The Gate of Death gradually began to close, and fewer vengeful spirits appeared. If this continued, it would definitely be closed. When they thought everything was going so smoothly, suddenly, a huge space-time door was ruthlessly torn open in the void. Following that, a large number of giant beasts charged out of the space-time door in an extremely crazy manner. I've finally broken through it. A handsome man rushed out of the space-time door, his face filled with a carefree smile. After coming out, when he saw them, he laughed loudly. I'm not late this time, am I? You're not late. Hurry up and destroy them. When Ba Hao and the others saw this person, they were delighted. Finally, reinforcements had arrived. If Yi Tianyun were here, he would immediately recognize who this person was. It was the giant divine beast that he had dealt with in the giant divine beast domain. He did not expect the giant divine beast to recover and break through to the divine star venerable realm, break through the shackles there, and successfully arrive at the desolate dragon planet. Now, the giant beast clan had 4 divine star venerable powerhouses, while their side had no divine star venerable powerhouses. Chapter 2283. Another divine star venerable had appeared. They didn't know that this was Yi Tianyun's old rival from before. Last time, he had ruthlessly ruined the giant divine beast's plan. They just didn't expect him to recover so quickly and even improve his cultivation. It could only be said that he had some special method that allowed him to break through in one go. Looking at his cultivation, it was obvious that he had just broken through to the divine star venerable level not long ago. He couldn't help but break through the void and come over here. As powerful as a divine star venerable, he could easily tear through space and open up a huge space-time door. This was something all divine star venerables could do, but generally speaking, they wouldn't do so. Not to mention that the cost wasn't low. What was the main point of opening up space for? When Shi Shuiyun saw this divine star venerable, her expression became solemn. It wouldn't be that easy to deal with him. With a divine star venerable cultivation, she wondered if the giant formation on their side could resist for a while. This kind of broken formation, watch me break it. The giant god's eyes were full of disdain. He stepped on the void and turned into a beam of cold light as he charged over. His small body seemed to have turned into an incomparably huge ferocious beast as he pressed down from the sky. Stop him! Shi Shuiyun quickly commanded all the giants to come over and resist. They nimbly controlled the giants and rushed over with loud thumping sounds. They quickly formed a huge formation, giant shield. The 5 giant formation gathered all their energy together and turned into an incomparably huge shield that was placed horizontally in front of them. Boom! The giant divine beast collided with the incomparably huge shield, causing a huge explosion. A power that could destroy heaven and earth wreaked havoc in all directions. The void collapsed one after another. With the giant divine beast as the center, a large area behind him collapsed from the shock of his own power. A gully tens of thousands of miles was continuously blasted out, as if the ground had been split in half. Boom! In the end, the giant divine beast was repelled, and the 5 giants also took a few steps back. A few cracks appeared on the hard energy shield, but it didn't shatter. This shield could reflect any attack. Now, even the power of a divine star venerable was reflected. It could be seen that the giant formation gathered by the 5 giants could still withstand the power of a divine star venerable. The rest of the giants could still fend off some of the demonic beasts, but it was a little more taxing. After all, this colossal god beast had even opened up the space of the colossal beast domain. Hordes of colossal beasts began to surge out. Regardless of whether they were transformed or not, all of them were charging toward Lin Fan. For a time, it was quite difficult to deal with them, but they could still hold on for a while. What worried them the most was the giant divine beast. We blocked it. When they saw this scene, they were incomparably shocked. If it were them, they would have long been scattered, or even seriously injured. That was an attack from a divine star venerable, not a great star venerable. Under such circumstances, the formation of so many giants was still blocked, and it was quite perfect. They had a whole new view of this giant formation. Normally, a large clan would have many star venerates and star venerates. This was especially so for the star venerates. For those with low talent, they would only be given some ordinary tasks to help the family. For example, he didn't bring it to the violet gold divine pavilion at all. They would only drag him down, so they didn't bring him along. Now, this giant formation showed them another way of fighting. At first, they had been disdainful of it. They thought it was not worth it, and the price they had to pay was not low. But now, the power it had erupted with really amazed them. After all, even if so many elders joined hands, they might not be able to block an attack from a divine star venerable, but they had done it. When there were enough of them, it was quite shocking when they gathered together. They might not be able to defeat a divine star venerable, but they could at least block a few moves. At least they were better than them, who couldn't even block it. If we survive this time, we must go back and train the disciples of this level well. They were all thinking of a plan. The effect was too shocking. Every clan had many star venerates and star venerates. If they gathered together, not to mention 10 giants, they could even gather dozens of giants. However, they were too optimistic. Sure, Shueyun had put in a lot of effort. Since it was called one of the most difficult formations, it couldn't have been so easy to train. They had hidden for so long just for this moment. They had been suppressed for so long that they couldn't show off. Now, they wanted to burn themselves up. Very good. Keep blocking. Sure, Shueyun's beautiful eyes lit up. She was very excited. She felt that she could definitely help this time instead of hiding behind. So what if he was a divine star venerable? So what if his cultivation couldn't keep up? He could still do things that other big clans couldn't. Damn, it's so hard. The giant divine beast's side was enraged and felt extremely humiliated. He hadn't expected it to be so hard. He had thought he could shatter the shield in one breath, but he had been too naive. Such a terrifying cohesiveness couldn't be broken so easily. I don't believe you can block many attacks. The giant divine beast charged at them again, and his power rose again. Manga charge. The giant divine beast trampled the ground crazily. With every step, a huge pit was formed. He turned into a huge meteorite and charged at them again. The power this time was much stronger than before, mainly because the power of the martial arts he used had obviously increased. They're here. Strengthen the effect. Go. Immediately, 2 more giants flew over and joined the previous 5 giants, forming a 7-man giant shield again. In an instant, a huge shield was formed, protecting all of them inside. Boom! A deafening sound spread in all directions. The giant divine beast was sent flying again. The ground behind him that had already collapsed became even more terrifying, as if there were a few deep scars on the ground. On the other hand, the giant shield was densely packed with cracks like a dense spider web, but it still didn't break. The shields of the 7 giants were able to withstand this terrifying power, creating another miracle. They didn't defeat their opponents, but blocking them was a kind of victory. Very good. Sure, Shueyun's white clothes fluttered in the wind. Her eyes were cold as she said, "Before Tianyun comes back, we'll defend everything." But the giants roared loudly, their voices extremely loud, expressing the feeling of oppression in their hearts. Perhaps this was the feeling of being recognized. They were finally rewarded. Chapter 2284. Damn it! I can't even break it? The giant divine beast was furious and felt extremely humiliated. He was a divine star venerable, but he couldn't break this garbage? Immediately after, he launched another frenzied attack, bombarding forward again and again. The giants blocked again and again. Every time the shield looked like it was going to break, it just didn't. But as they resisted, their faces became paler and paler, and they consumed more and more energy. Even if they blocked the attacks, the consumption was still too terrifying. The attack of a divine star venerable was not so easy to resist. Sigh, they're about to be defeated. Once these giants are defeated, they're done for. Yes, this is the end. Their hearts were desolate. They wanted to help, but there was nothing they could do. Moreover, it was quite good that they could resist the giant beasts and ghosts around them, let alone help. Their contribution was also not bad. At least they helped to resist a lot of giant beasts and ghosts. Ha, it's about to break. The giant divine beast's eyes were full of cold light. Let's see if you can continue to resist. After a series of ferocious smashes, the shield was finally ready to be smashed into pieces. After the shield was broken, the giant divine beast would be smashed into a meat patty. Great array rise. Shi Shuiyun suddenly waved her hand. At this time, a huge light array appeared in the area below the shield, and it soared into the sky. It directly enveloped the giant divine beast and turned into a solid cage, trapping him. The huge light array, layer by layer, covered the giant divine beast, and it could be said that it was crazy. It was like putting another layer on the outside of a cage, layer by layer, and it reached an incredible degree of stability. What's going on? The giant divine beast was stunned, and he looked down. He didn't know when, but there was a huge light array below. Looking carefully, he found that the divine spirit race was madly arranging the array. You want to stop me with just a broken array? The giant divine beast slammed the cage, and with a boom sound, the cage shook, but it didn't break, not even a crack. The heavy blow was enough to destroy heaven and earth, but this cage couldn't be destroyed. It was really shocking. This was the Heavenly Clouds Empire's Divine Spirit Clan, led by Yi Qingxian. After Shi Shuiyun, Yi Qingxian was Yi Tianyun's most trusted person. She led the Divine Spirit Clan's team, and after their awakening, their abilities were greatly enhanced. After this period of training, he had improved greatly. Now, they could even set up level 2-star rune arrays. Although level 2-star patterns were inconspicuous, there was a kind of collective array that was quite amazing. That was the seal suppression formation. This sounded domineering, and in fact, it was indeed domineering. The difficulty was about the same as the giant formation. The difference was that one had to set up many grade 2 great formations and then link them together. The more formations there were, the more powerful they would be. Of course, a second-grade grand formation wasn't the limit. He could continue to set up third-grade grand formations, and the highest he could set up was a fifth-grade grand formation. At that time, let alone a divine star venerable, even a heavenly star venerable would probably be sealed to death. Most importantly, the core of the array was not a normal star rune array core, but a person. With a person as the eye of the formation, and hundreds and thousands of people working together to cast it, the power was extremely terrifying. This was the best proof. After they joined forces to unleash the God Suppression Array, the giant God Beast was trapped inside. This is yet another God Sealing formation, which is as difficult as the giant formation. It requires the cooperation of all the star inscriptionists in order to achieve such a feat. This force is too heaven-defying. This is something that requires mutual telepathy and telepathy. They actually managed to do it. These are all extremely difficult formations, completely the type that is arduous and unrewarding, yet they actually dared to use them. Previously, the giant array had already shocked them. Now, they were even more shocked when they saw a giant array of the same level. A grand formation like the seal suppression formation could be found anywhere on the street, and one would be able to find the cultivation method for it. However, no one really wanted to cultivate it. It was so difficult. If they had the heart to cultivate, they might as well cultivate and break through. When they saw its true power, it really refreshed their understanding. Dong dong dong. The gigantic divine beast smashed the cage in a frenzy. After smashing for a while, a crack finally appeared on the cage. However, it was only a small crack. If he wanted to break it, he still needed to smash for a period of time. However, before he could smash it open, light swords appeared in the God Sealing formation and shot towards the gigantic divine beast. Each light sword wanted to pierce through him. However, the gigantic divine beast was too tough. They could only leave shallow marks on his body. However, the gigantic divine beast still felt some pain. Most importantly, it was humiliation. He didn't expect that not only could he not break the other party's defense, but he was also trapped in the cage. This was clearly a trap. First, the giant array only defended and didn't attack. At the same time, another formation was set up below the giant array. Everything was concealed by the giant array. He didn't even notice that someone was setting up a formation below. Under such circumstances, he originally thought that he could break the giant array. Who knew that he would be trapped in another formation? Damn it all. The gigantic divine beast was about to go crazy. He was actually trapped again. This was a great humiliation. What an idiot! What are you doing? Ba Hao roared. If this went on, the door of death would be closed. Ah, break it! The gigantic divine beast continued to rage. He smashed madly and the cage cracked bit by bit. The defense of the god's ceiling formation was amazing. However, it was still difficult to trap a divine star venerable. Every heavy blow was like smashing on the chest of the divine spirit clan, causing their faces to turn pale. However, they stubbornly held on. At this moment, they could defend as much as they could. Everyone who came to participate in the battle wanted to repay Tianyun for nurturing them all this time. They didn't want to be a burden. Very good, continue to trap him. Shi Shuiyun's eyes were cold. Everything was within her expectations. After the giant array didn't need to protect the gigantic divine beast, it continued to protect the Death Clan. This made the other side heave a sigh of relief. Just when they thought it was over, they still persisted. It had to be said that they were shocked again. Humph! On the Mei Qing Divine Star Venerable side, someone was sent flying. Let me help you. Ba Hao defeated his opponent and came over to help. This time, even if 2 Divine Star Venerables came, could they still resist? When Ba Hao's fist smashed toward the Death Clan, several domineering shadows suddenly rushed out of the void and collided with Ba Hao. Boom! After Ba Hao was bounced back for a distance, he looked coldly in front of him and found that it was the 5-colored divine race and the heavenly tiger tribe. They all used their totem power to resist Ba Hao's attack. They could also gather the power of the entire tribe to resist the divine star venerable. One tribe couldn't deal with it, but if several tribes worked together, they could resist it. The Heavenly Clouds Empire's power gradually emerged. Chapter 2285. The Heavenly Clouds Empire's forces were revealed step by step, and they stood out in this battle. Wave after wave of power emerged. Perhaps their cultivations were not top-notch, but the power that erupted when they gathered together could even resist a divine star venerable. It was already shocking that the 2 great arrays could withstand it, and now there was another wave? Just how many trump cards did this force have up their sleeves? This is incredible. They were stunned, and words couldn't express the shock in their hearts. Factions had appeared one after another, and they were even able to resist divine star venerables. It was truly inconceivable. Just what kind of faction could achieve such a shocking degree? When Ba Hao was blocked, he was also furious. He didn't expect that even he would be blocked. The giant god beast on the side was blocked. After all, the giant god beast had just broken through to the divine star venerable realm, and there was still a big gap in all aspects. He had been promoted for a long time, but he was still blocked, which made him very angry. I don't believe that you can still resist. Ba Hao roared. This time, he didn't attack the Death Clan, but the Heavenly Tiger Tribe. If he wanted to destroy the Death Clan, he must first destroy the Heavenly Tiger Tribe. Otherwise, he would still be blocked. Moreover, if he wanted to vent the anger in his heart, he had to destroy the Heavenly Tiger Tribe first. The people of the Heavenly Tiger Tribe were not afraid. Without hesitation, they gathered their totemic power and charged towards Ba Hao. Boom! The Heavenly Tiger Tribe's totem was shattered one after another, and a large group of people were blasted upside down, vomiting blood and suffering serious injuries. Ba Hao was also blasted out, but his situation was much better than the Heavenly Tiger Tribe. His face was red, and it seemed like he was slightly injured. Let's see what tricks you have this time. Ba Hao exhaled. The other party was directly defeated by him in one move. Now, how many cultivators could resist his attack? This time, it was the giant array that came to resist. They really didn't have too many trump cards this time. Basically, they played all their trump cards, and they were already proud to be able to resist the attack of 2 divine star venerables. If it were any other great family, how could they do this? What they paid attention to was the standard of an individual elite. Rather than nurturing everyone, it was better to only nurture one. Their way of thinking wasn't wrong. It was just that the one they were nurturing wasn't at a heaven-defying level. There wasn't even a single divine star venerable, so what was the point? As a result, the The strong were very strong and the weak were very weak. The Heavenly Cloud's empire was the Heavenly Cloud's ancestral land. However, this side was different. By nurturing all of the people and working together, they would be able to achieve unimaginable results. They knew where their problem lay. Even if they did their best to nurture them, they wouldn't be able to produce a divine star venerable right away. Therefore, if he took the resources to nurture great star venerables or divine star venerables and spread them around, he would be able to nurture a large group of experts with decent cultivation. Their cultivations might not be heaven-defying, but they could at least train many star lords or star venerables. This was the reason why they could gather together and form a giant formation. You're still using this move? Do you think I'm that guy? Ba Hao's eyes were filled with disdain as he charged toward them. The 7 giants raised their shields in front of them. Just like before, they wanted to block Ba Hao's attack. Break for me! Ba Hao waved his fist and slammed it on the huge shield. The sky changed color, the earth shook, and the mountains shook. The stars above were covered by his power. Then, an incomparably huge fist punched through the thick void and slammed heavily on the shield. Dong! The shield made a loud noise, and in the next second, the huge shield shattered into countless pieces with a bang. Puff! The 7 giants were sent flying and directly disintegrated in midair. Most of the cultivators were seriously injured and fell from midair. There were many casualties. This was war, extremely cruel, and it was impossible for there to be no casualties. Especially this kind of giant formation. Once it was broken, there would be a chain reaction. Basically, not many cultivators could escape the damage. Therefore, either no one was injured, or all of them were injured. Some of the more serious ones directly exploded into a blood mist, leaving nothing behind. Bastard! Shi Shuiyun's eyes were red. Many of her loyal subordinates had disappeared from this world, which made her feel extremely painful. But this was war. Besides them, the other great clans had also suffered numerous casualties. Not to mention star venerables, even grand star venerables had started to die. It could be said that the other great clans' losses were no less than theirs. However, in terms of the number of casualties, their losses were definitely not as great as theirs. But in terms of resources, they must have spent more. However, for Shi Shuiyun, talents were more important, not resources. Then, Shi Shuiyun quickly waved her hand and adjusted her mentality. She commanded, "Quick, seize the opportunity now." At this moment, a giant spear flew out of the void and pierced toward Ba Hao. It was not a spear, but an indestructible spear formed by the power of a large group of people. Many familiar faces, such as Xiaowu, Mingyu, and others, were gathered there. They did not have any special abilities, but they had extremely firm hearts. After they gathered together, they formed a long spear made of will and power, which pierced through the void and shot over. Boom! The sudden attack hit Ba Hao. Everything had been prepared for this moment. They knew that the giants would not be able to resist Ba Hao's attack. But the giants could only choose to resist. Everything had been prepared for this moment. Ba Hao was blown away by the attack and fell straight to the ground. With a loud noise, a deafening explosion spread in all directions. The space was distorted, as if the world would be destroyed at any moment. After the explosion, Ba Hao lay paralyzed on the ground, his body blown to pieces. He was not dead, but he had seriously injured Ba Hao. It was an extremely powerful trump card. The strongest elite soldiers of the entire Heavenly Cloud ancestral land were gathered there. Their unparalleled will and power combined together, instantly reaching the power of a divine star venerable. The key was that all of their power was gathered at one point, which made their power even more terrifying. Even gods would not be able to resist this attack. However, this was only effective in a sneak attack. If it was a head-on attack, the speed would be a bit too slow. They had taken advantage of this gap to hit Ba Hao. Everyone was stunned when they saw this scene. A divine star venerable had been injured? More importantly, the divine star venerable of the giant beast clan, with an unparalleled physique, had been seriously injured. If it were any other divine star venerable, wouldn't they be dead? This battle was destined to make the heavenly cloud ancestral land famous across the two stars. Chapter 2286. Ba Hao was seriously injured. This scene shocked everyone once again. Who would have thought that so many weak cultivators could gather together to form such a powerful force? This was really beyond their imagination. They had never seen such a scene before, and now it was fully presented in front of them. Ba Hao! The other two divine star venerates were shocked. They had not expected their companion to fail. This immediately caused their morale to plummet, and they were frantically suppressed by the other two divine star venerates. Ba Hao, who was lying in the huge pit, did not die. He climbed up with great difficulty. His powerful physical body began to rapidly recover at a speed visible to the naked eye. This move was very powerful, but his vitality was even more tenacious. I really did not expect you to have such a move. Ba Hao panted. His eyes were bloodshot, and a shocking killing intent soared into the sky. He stared at the spear above and said coldly, "I want you all dead." He quickly stomped on the ground and rushed towards the spear. Even if his physical body had not fully recovered, he would still meet it head-on. The rage in his heart made him unable to care about anything else. Shi Shuiyun also gave the order for his counterattack at the same time. Before Ba Hao could attack, the spear had already struck down again. Take advantage of his weakness to kill him. Before Ba Hao could attack, the spear had already struck down fiercely. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion erupted once again below. The huge pit, which was already shocking enough, now became even deeper and larger. What people were most concerned about was the real result. Who had won? Immediately after, the spear was forcefully pushed back for millions of miles before it barely stopped. The overall structure was not destroyed, but the situation was not very good. Using this move had consumed a shocking amount of energy. The second move was obviously not as powerful as it had been. Fortunately, it did not break into pieces like the giant. At least there were no casualties, which was enough. Ba Hao was once again sent flying, but it was not as tragic as before. It seemed that there was not much of a problem. His physical body was still healing rapidly. His combat power had been reduced, or the spear would definitely have shattered. Pretty hard? This time, I'll completely destroy you. Ba Hao stepped forward frantically. His body quickly healed, and soon he looked no different from usual. Even so, his condition was definitely not completely recovered. However, in terms of battle prowess, he had already recovered by more than half. Under such circumstances, if the spear were to receive another punch, it would definitely shatter. At that time, the price he would have to pay would be even more tragic than the giant. Such a condensed spear was not some grand formation, but the product of the combination of willpower and strength. If it was shattered, it would be equivalent to the complete collapse of the willpower. As a result, it would affect one's soul, and in serious cases, one would become an idiot. Even if one survived, it would be useless. Go! Shi Shuiyun gritted her teeth. She had no other choice. Not only her, but all the cultivators in the spear also had no other choice. However, their gazes were incomparably resolute. Protecting their homeland was their goal. In order for their descendants to survive, they had to pay the price. Even if they could foresee the outcome of this collision, they would not be able to stop. If he stopped, the result would be a world of difference from when he bumped into it. If they could hold on for a while longer, the Death Clan would be able to close the gate. Or they could give Tianyun more time to break through. There were too many variables. Once they stopped, the Death Clan behind them would be destroyed. Then, the Death Clan would continue to open, and the entire desolate Dragon Star would be destroyed. There would be no hope. Kill! A deafening sound soared into the sky. They were already prepared to face the attack. Every single one of them recalled the scenes of their lives. They were already very lucky to be able to make it this far. Without Tianyun, they would not even have had the chance to be here. They would have perished in ignorance. They would not even have had the chance to resist. After all, if they did not come up, the giant beast clan would attack. At that time, they would not even have the chance to appear on the battlefield. They would have died in the lower worlds. Just as they were about to go up, a figure suddenly appeared in front of them. They were all dumbstruck. "You have worked hard. You have performed well. Let me handle the rest." A familiar voice spread in all directions. When they saw the person's back, their eyes turned red. "Not at all. It's all thanks to Sir's training that we can stand on this battlefield." They choked. Even when they were facing strong enemies, they had never lost their composure like this. However, when they were facing Yi Tianyun, they lost their composure. It wasn't just them. Even Shi Shuiyun and the others had tears in their eyes. Everything they had done was finally paid off. "That's right. Your efforts will not go to waste." Yi Tianyun turned to look at them and solemnly said, "Today, you will be famous everywhere. Let everyone remember you." Of course, that's not the key. The key is that you did it. You did what so many strong forces couldn't. "Yeah, we did it." They were all excited. Even though there were casualties, they were more excited than anything else. They had created a miracle. Everyone had a different opinion of them. When the forces saw Yi Tianyun talking to them, they were shocked. They did not expect that these forces were all created by Yi Tianyun. "You talk too much nonsense. Go to hell. Even if you come out, you will only become dust here like them." Ba Hao was already in front of them. He did not give them any time to talk. "Get lost." Tianyun waved his hand, and a wave of fluctuation came from the void. The terrifying star power turned into a huge palm, and it slammed down on Ba Hao, who was rushing towards Tianyun, and Ba Hao turned into a pile of blood mist in midair. What was left was a bloody mess of flesh that fell from midair and finally smashed into the ground, causing an explosion. A divine star venerable giant beast had been blown up with a single slap? Divine star venerable. Ichi broke through to the divine star venerable level? The familiar aura made them feel that Yi Tianyun's cultivation had really reached the divine star venerable level. They did not expect Yi Tianyun to be a divine star venerable after hiding in the purple gold divine pavilion for a period of time. No wonder he said to leave it to him. He was already heaven-defying before becoming a divine star venerable. Who could stop him after becoming a divine star venerable? Chapter 2287. Yi Tianyun had successfully broken through to the divine star venerable level. After successfully raising the level of his star aspect, he immediately started to raise his cultivation level. Raising his cultivation level was very smooth. Because he had killed enough great star venerable beasts, he had obtained a lot of star energy. Especially since he had destroyed the Zhu family, the star energy he had obtained was quite shocking. Under such circumstances, raising his cultivation level to the divine star venerable level was no longer a problem. It could even be said that it was relatively easy. It could be said that he had successfully broken through to the divine star venerable level in one go. After breaking through, he immediately charged out. He was both angry and helpless in the purple gold divine pavilion. However, he could only continue to break through inside. There was no other way. No matter how angry he was, there was no point in coming out. As long as his cultivation level did not break through, the deaths of his subordinates would be meaningless. Therefore, he was not only proud of his subordinates' abilities, but he was also extremely sad. However, he was even more gratified. To be able to explode with such shocking power, apart from his faction, which other faction could do this? Blocking the attacks of divine star venerables one after another was enough to make Yi Tianyun proud. This was the faction he had nurtured. They could do things that others could not. Finally, after successfully breaking through, he immediately charged out and killed Ba Hao at the same time. Even though Ba Hao had been injured, he was still a divine star venerable, which was far from what a great star venerable could compare to. However, he had been killed in one move by Yi Tianyun. Ba Hao had now become a pile of mud. He fell to the ground, motionless. He looked very miserable. It seemed like he was not dead, but he had already lost the ability to fight. Yi Tianyun quickly descended from the sky and grabbed Ba Hao's remaining pile of flesh. In fact, it contained his soul. It's a pity that Super Soul Search doesn't have enough star energy to level up for now. Otherwise, I would really want to search your memories. But don't worry, you still have 2 companions left. Lee Yun exerted a little force in his hand, and a domineering power started to press down. Ba Hao's body started to rapidly collapse. You can't defeat the giant beast race. Ba Hao was still unwilling to admit defeat. Don't worry, you'll see more and more companions coming down. Yun didn't waste time with him. He crushed Ba Hao's body, including his soul. He had finished off a divine star venerable. Ding! You have successfully killed Ba Hao. Reward: 5 billion star energy and 2,000 kill points. Ba Hao's hand, Ba Hao's soul, and bloodthirsty bone. As expected of a divine star sovereign's star energy value. It's truly shocking. Yun's eyes lit up. That much star energy would be enough for him to upgrade his super soul search ability. When that time came, he would be able to easily scour a bunch of memories. His figure flickered, and he appeared in front of the giant divine beast. Now, it was time to clean up the other divine star venerable beast, especially the trapped divine beast. The giant divine beast had yet to break out of its cage. It had to be said that the divine spirit race's ability was very shocking. They had trapped the giant divine beast so tightly that it was basically impossible for it to escape. Not to mention that it wouldn't be able to escape in the future, at least for a short period of time. Long time no see. I didn't expect you to successfully break through to the divine star venerable realm. I thought you wouldn't be able to break through again. When Yun saw the giant divine beast, he realized that it was indeed an old acquaintance. It's you! The giant divine beast's eyes were filled with killing intent. It fiercely punched the sturdy cage, causing it to crack a little. However, it still couldn't escape. That's right, it's me. Yun looked at it indifferently. Next, it's your turn. I almost died at your hands when I sparred with you before. But now it's my turn to deal with you. You. The giant divine beast sneered. Ba Hao was seriously injured. Otherwise, do you think you could handle him? If I wasn't trapped in the cage, you would definitely be dead. Oh, alright then. I want to see what abilities you have. Yun waved his hand at Yi Qingxian and used her to remove the cage. Yi Qingxian didn't hesitate. She nodded at him and quickly removed the cage. As soon as the cage was removed, the giant divine beast launched a sneak attack on Yun. He had been waiting for this opportunity. He wanted to provoke Yun so that he could remove the cage and kill his way out. He hadn't expected that Yun would really take the bait. He secretly cursed Yun for being an idiot. What an idiot! The giant divine beast swung his fist and charged over. He gathered all of his strength. The explosive power was slightly weaker than Ba Hao's, but his overall strength was still at the divine star venerable realm. Boom! Yun raised his hand and received the giant divine beast's fist head-on. A terrifying power poured out from behind Yun. With him as the front, a large area behind him instantly collapsed. It was enough to show that the power of this punch was quite shocking. However, Yun was completely fine. He grabbed the giant divine beast's fist tightly and looked at the other party's shocked gaze. This is your power? You. The giant divine beast thought that his punch could seriously injure Yun, who knew that he would be seriously injured and receive his most overbearing punch. There's no need for you. Yun exerted force and crushed the giant divine beast's fist. Then he quickly reached out, grabbed the giant divine beast's head, and lifted it up. Search my soul. He had already upgraded the Super Soul Search. He could search the cultivation of all divine star venerables. He couldn't miss out on real information. After searching his memory, he found that the giant divine beast's memory was also limited. He didn't even know where the headquarters of the giant divine beast race was. It wasn't that his status was too low, but that he had been sealed in the giant divine beast domain. It was only a long time ago when he received help from the evil spirit race that he started to evolve. During this period, they also communicated with their companions. However, if they wanted to leave that place, they could only destroy the formation from the inside. Therefore, The giant divine beast didn't know much about the situation outside. You have no value at all. Die. Tianyun squeezed hard. The giant divine beast didn't even get to say his last words before he died completely. In a short period of time, he killed another divine star venerable. This was as simple as drinking water. The others were dumbfounded, followed by explosive cheers. Chapter 2288. Two of the giant beast race's divine star venerates had been killed by Tianyun. He had killed them easily, as if it was as easy as drinking water. When the remaining two divine star venerate giant beasts saw the situation, their hearts sank. They had greatly underestimated this cultivator's ability. He hadn't been very eye-catching before, so they hadn't paid much attention to him. Who knew that he would break through to the divine star venerate level in such a short time? Breaking through to the divine star venerate level wasn't a problem. Mei Qing and the others had broken through for so long, yet they were still suppressed by them. Even if Tianyun broke through to the divine star venerate level, what kind of power could a newly advanced divine star venerate have? A lot of his power hadn't been converted and adapted yet. The power he could exert was at most slightly stronger than a great star venerate. If he wanted to completely mobilize the power of a divine star venerate, he would need some time to adapt and familiarize himself with it. Who knew that Tianyun didn't even need to adapt? It was as if he had broken through to the divine star venerate level a long time ago. He could grasp all the power in an instant, and the power he exerted was even more shocking. The next second, Tianyun quickly flew to support Mei Qing and the others. He instantly charged to Mei Qing's side and said coldly, "Leave it to me." Mei Qing nodded. He had also reached his limit. If this continued, he definitely wouldn't be able to hold on. Immediately, Tianyun's gaze shifted to the handsome man. This giant beast race cultivator was still very powerful. It could be said that he was the most powerful among all of them. However, no matter how powerful he was only an early-stage divine star venerate. We underestimated you this time. I really didn't expect you to improve like this. Batron stared at Tianyun and said in a deep voice, "You're the strongest cultivator I've seen." "Is that so?" "That's my honor," Tianyun said calmly. "However, your plan ends here. It's time to end this." "Wait a minute." Batron didn't attack immediately. Instead, he looked at him and said temptingly, "You have great power, and you can use it. Don't you want to rule this area and become the absolute overlord of this area? I believe you know that if you want to improve your cultivation, you will need an astonishing amount of resources. As long as you rule this area, you will have all the resources you want. Join forces with us. When the time comes, your cultivation won't just be at the divine star venerable realm, but an even higher realm." Batlon began to tempt them. He felt that Tianyun had the strength to join forces with them. At the same time, he did not want to fight with Tianyun. "You've injured so many of my men. What's the point of saying that?" Tianyun said calmly. "Their cultivation is so weak, it doesn't matter if they die." Survival of the fittest, this has always been the truth. Batlon said in a deep voice, "Don't worry about these things, it's meaningless." "So, this is the difference between me and trash like you?" Tianyun stomped on the ground, his eyes filled with killing intent. The giant beast race followed the principle of survival of the fittest. Not to mention the other races, even the giant beast race within their own race would end with the survival of the fittest. Unfortunately, Tianyun could not agree with this concept. Boom! Tianyun instantly arrived in front of Batlon and swung his fist. Batlon's eyes narrowed, and at the same time, he also swung his fist to counterattack. The two fists collided. Boom! Batron was like a huge meteorite, falling from the sky and finally exploding on the ground. Just like Bahao, he was killed in one move. After the explosion, Batlon lay on the ground, his body turned into a pile of meat paste, looking very tragic. In front of Tianyun, a divine star venerable's cultivation was like trash. Most importantly, he had not even used any star aspect. He had killed Batlon in an instant by relying solely on his own strength. Cough, cough, cough. Batlon recovered his physical body with difficulty. He looked at Tianyun with eyes full of anger. Looks like you're not willing to cooperate with us. Since that's the case, then go to hell. Under his gloomy gaze, a black fog suddenly appeared around him, and soon, a group of giant beasts appeared in front of him. They were dressed in black, and as soon as they appeared, they immediately used their black energy to wrap around Tianyun. Most importantly, a door of death had appeared, enveloping him from the side. This door of death was not big, just enough to accommodate a few people. They wanted to stuff Tianyun into the door of death. As long as he was stuffed into the door of death, everything would be over. There were so many vengeful spirits inside, and even a divine star venerable would probably die inside. Tianyun was very powerful, but he did not have the ability to open the door of death, which meant that once he was locked inside, he would only be waiting for death. I didn't expect there to be a backup door of death. You guys have a backup plan? But that's all there is to it. A terrifying power was released from Tianyun's body, and a phantom appeared. With just a wave, the giant beasts surrounding him were shaken into a bloody fog, and the black energy that trapped him was completely useless. As soon as these giant beasts died, the door of death quickly closed up. When everyone saw this, apart from being shocked, they also heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Tianyun was not sucked in. If he was really sucked in, wouldn't it be the end? However, if Tianyun was sucked in, he would not die inside. After all, he had the super teleportation divine stone, so he could easily escape without any pressure. Then, his gaze shifted to Batlon, and he quickly flew to his side. He lifted Batlon up and said calmly, "I wonder what other moves you have this time?" In the face of absolute power, all schemes and tricks were meaningless. "You're really powerful." Batlon laughed loudly, but there was no despair in his eyes. "Do you think everything is over just like that? I know it won't be over so easily, so I want to take a look." Tianyun sneered and grabbed Batlon's head. All the memories quickly surged out and poured into his head. "So it was this plan. Your giant beast clan is really powerful. You even have this kind of hidden method." Tianyun looked at the shocked Batlon. He did not expect Tianyun to have this kind of ability. He was a divine star venerable. No matter how weak he was, it was impossible for his soul to be searched. Who knew that he would not have a chance to struggle at all, and his memories would be completely extracted. How can you do this?" Batron's previously indifferent expression turned into one of extreme fear. All his plans had been exposed, so how could he remain calm? "There's no why. You guys are just too stupid." Tianyun sneered and crushed Batlon's head, completely ending his life. Chapter 2289. Batlon was killed, and another large amount of star energy poured in. However, Tianyun was not excited at all. He knew a lot of insider information from Batron's memories. He had searched through the memories of so many beasts, and he had finally found something valuable. This beast was very valuable, and it was also very well hidden. After learning about it, not only was he not happy, but his face was also terrifyingly gloomy. He turned around and went to Jean Elan's side, ready to help her kill the last divine star venerable. As long as he killed this divine star venerable, the giant beasts would basically be finished. There would be no chance for them to fight back. "It's over." Tianyun didn't do it this time. Gather? Bad and lazy? Regret? Jingxue? Tonight? Yuan Yen resisting the temple's blasphemy? Feng Yun blowing down the model? Bookworm waving the heart and bad and lazy? Fushu? In the end, this divine star venerable was also killed by him. All the divine star venerables were killed by him. He had done something that other divine star venerables could not do. This kind of power was really above other divine star venerables. Mei Qing divine star venerable wiped his cold sweat. He had not expected Tianyun to be so nature-defying. After breaking through to divine star venerable, the power he erupted with far surpassed theirs. Fortunately, he had made an oath with Tianyun, or he would have been the one dead. Even if he had escaped, He would have died if he had not signed the oath with Tianyun. How could he dare fight against such a powerful divine star venerable? It could only be said that the Zhu family was really blind to have provoked such a nature-defying existence. Divine Star Venerable Elon, thank you for your ascension flower. Without it, I would not have been able to break through to the Divine Star Venerable level. Tianyun waved his hand, and 5-star Venerable level treasures flew out and landed in Jean Elon's hands. Now that he had broken through, he had to fulfill his promise. This business is really worth it. I wonder if you can help me out in the future? Jean Elon sized up Tianyun with her beautiful eyes, feeling a little shocked. She did not expect Tianyun to be so powerful after his breakthrough. She had thought that he would not be of much help, at most helping to fend off the giant beasts. Now, it seemed that it had far exceeded her imagination. He was much more powerful than a veteran divine star venerable like her. That's not a problem. Tianyun smiled. He was very grateful that they could support him at this time. Then he flew to Shuiyun's side and hugged her slender waist. He said gently, "It's been hard on you. You're very good at commanding. No wonder you're my wife." As they chatted, a terrifying force spread out in all directions, shattering the giant beasts and vengeful spirits around them. At this moment, the Death's Gate was more or less done closing. It had to be said that it took quite a long time for the Death's Gate to close. The main reason was that the range of the Death's Gate was too large, so the time it took to close was relatively longer. But now, there was no need to worry. After it was closed, there was basically no difficulty to speak of. The remaining giant beasts were basically useless. If they did not have a strong cultivation, they could only be slaughtered. It could be said that after the death of a divine star venerable, victory could basically be declared. However, Tianyun's actions were even more eye-catching. They did not expect this beautiful woman to be Tianyun's woman. This made everyone marvel. As expected of a powerhouse of a generation, it was normal for him to have such a capable wife. Sigh, a divine star venerable? He broke through just like that, and he's so strong. Even if the Zhu family has a divine star venerable, they probably wouldn't dare to oppose him, right? Chu Hetong and the others sighed, their eyes filled with fear. This time, they felt that it was the right choice not to go against Tianyun. If they went against Tianyun, then even the Chu family would be pried up. He's really outstanding. Jing Exen stared at the woman in Tianyun's arms, jealousy appearing in her beautiful eyes for the first time. She realized that Tianyun was very much in line with her standards as a cultivation companion. It was just that the person in his arms wasn't her, but another woman. All along, it had been others who were jealous of her. This time, it was her turn to be jealous. So many people are watching. Sure, Shuiyun was a little embarrassed. So many people were looking at them, making her a little shy. What are you afraid of? You're so capable. Are you afraid of others gossiping? Tianyun hugged her slender waist and said in a deep voice, "Everything is finally over, but it's also a beginning." He said something inexplicable, making sure Shuiyun fall silent. After the Death's Gate was closed, everything became a lot easier. All the giant beasts had been wiped out. After all, this was their territory, and the giant beasts did not have as many people as they did. After a round of cleaning, all the giant beasts were finally wiped out. However, no one was happy. All the losses were too heavy. Every family had lost a lot. Be it experts or other disciples, many had died. Less than half of the disciples they had brought with them were left. Basically, all the families were in the same situation. Some families were even worse off. Looking at the corpses on the ground, everyone felt a little miserable. They had won, but they didn't feel excited at all. Everything was fine. Even if they were fighting for treasures, there wouldn't be such a tragic battle. But now, it was different. Many of the companions they had brought with them had died. The atmosphere in this area was very depressed and gloomy. They started to pack up the corpses of their companions and brought them back for a proper burial. It wasn't just these big families. Even the Tianyun ancestral land was in sorrow. They had also suffered heavy losses. This was the worst they had suffered so far. This was the cruelest war. Death was a very common thing, and there was no way to change it. If they wanted to change the situation, unless they had a heaven-defying expert who could suppress the other party from the beginning, there would be a lot of casualties. While they were packing up, Tianyun suddenly said in the sky, "Everyone, I know you are in pain, but there is one thing I want to explain to you. The giant beasts have already started to attack Scarlet Moon Planet. We don't have time to feel pain anymore. We must hurry back to Scarlet Moon Planet." Tianyun's words were like a sudden clap of thunder that exploded in their ears, shocking them. But they have already attacked Scarlet Moon Planet? They couldn't believe it. Scarlet Moon Planet had a divine star venerable hiding. How could they be so bold? Yes, they have already attacked Scarlet Moon Planet. They should be in a chaotic battle now. There is no point in being sad now. We can either hide on Desolate Dragon Planet or kill our way back to Scarlet Moon Planet to fight them. Tianyun said in a deep voice. This was what he knew from Batlin's memories. Chapter 2290. At first, Tianyun thought that they would wipe out the cultivators here first before heading to planet Scarlet Moon to fight and rule over the entire planet. Who knew that the giant beast race would attack on both sides, swallowing both sides in one go? Even if they failed here, planet Scarlet Moon would probably be swallowed. When they returned and found out that everything was over, it would be meaningless. There was only one reason why they dared to do this. The giant beast race was well prepared and very powerful. From Batron's memories, one could sense how powerful they were. They had sent 8 divine star venerables. Including the 4 here, there were a total of 12. A total of 11 divine star venerables. That really scared him. He hadn't expected the giant beast race to have so many powerhouses. Who would dare say that they had declined? At least here, they hadn't declined. Batron and the others had sent 4 divine star venerables, which meant that they thought very highly of planet Desolate Dragon. Under normal circumstances, planet Desolate Dragon didn't even have a single divine star venerate. Sending 4 divine star venerables would have been a sure win. Who knew that a moment of carelessness would cause them to lose everything? Not only were there many divine star venerables here, but there were also powerful forces from the Skycloud ancestral land. In the end, Tianyun had successfully broken through to the divine star venerate level. He was above everything. But now that planet Desolate Dragon's crisis had been resolved, it was planet Scarlet Moon's turn. According to the plan, the battle had already begun. If he teleported there, he would definitely see chaos and a sky full of giant beasts crazily attacking planet Scarlet Moon. Compared to the giant beast race sent to deal with planet Desolate Dragon, they were much stronger in both numbers and cultivation. This was what he was worried about. He was determined to win. They still have the energy to deal with planet Scarlet Moon? Also, I didn't receive any distress messages. Chu Hutong found this unbelievable. First of all, he hadn't received any distress messages. This made him a little puzzled. Since they came out, they must have come prepared. If the Chu family had been attacked, they would definitely have notified them and asked them to quickly go and rescue them. From the beginning until now, they hadn't received any distress messages, which made them very puzzled. I found this from the giant beast's memories. That's their plan. I'm not very clear about the actual situation. As for the rescue information, is there a problem with a divine star venerable blocking it? Tianyun looked at them and said in a deep voice, "Of course, I'm not asking you to believe anything. I'm just reminding you. Either we continue to stay here, or we go back. Once you return, you probably won't be able to escape. You can only face the giant beast race head-on. Therefore, everything depends on your own choices. Whether you believe me or not is up to you." Tianyun's words were very straightforward. He was giving them a reminder on account of their collective fight against the giant beasts. Heavenly Cloud Divine Star Venerate, do you know how many experts there are over there? Chu Hutong and the others pondered for a moment before deciding to ask about it. There was no need for a divine star venerable to lie, so they chose to believe him. According to the memories obtained by that divine star venerable, There are at least 8 divine star venerables and many other great star venerables. The total number was at least several times more than what they had sent to attack Desolate Dragon Star. It can be said that the number is quite shocking. If we were not careful, we would have been completely annihilated, Tianyun said honestly. 8 divine star venerables? They were extremely shocked. There were actually 8 divine star venerables. Just how were they raised? Or rather, where did he come from? How could he possess such terrifying battle prowess? That's right, there are 8 divine star venerables. If Scarlet Moon Planet had many divine star venerables, then they wouldn't be so scary. Tianyun looked at Divine Star Venerable Mei Qing to ask about his situation. Divine Star Venerable Mei Qing frowned and said, "As far as I know, there are no more than 5 Divine Star Venerables left on Scarlet Moon Planet. As for the others that are hidden deeper, I'm not sure, but there should be more. After all, most of the Divine Star Venerables have chosen to leave Scarlet Moon Planet. If they continue to stay on Scarlet Moon Planet, there will be no progress in breaking through." Scarlet Moon Planet was a delicious steamed bun in the eyes of many, but for Divine Star Venerables, resources were quite limited, so they had to leave Scarlet Moon Planet. The Colossal Beast race occupied Scarlet Moon Planet purely to occupy a decent planet and then spread out. This was their goal. If they stayed on Scarlet Moon Planet, they wouldn't be able to stay for too long. If they wanted to continue breaking through, they would have to leave this place and go to a more fertile planet. It seems that the Divine Star Venerables on Scarlet Moon Planet are quite limited. Tianyun frowned. This was what Divine Star Venerable Mei Qing knew. He wasn't very clear about the actual details. After all, he knew that there were 5, but whether they were still there or not was another matter. That's for sure. It's difficult to break through to the Divine Star Venerables in the first place. In addition, Scarlet Moon Planet's resources are gradually deteriorating. It's normal for them to choose to leave Scarlet Moon Planet. Divine Star Venerable Mei Qing nodded and said in a deep voice, "Based on the current situation, it's very likely that the Divine Star Venerables on Scarlet Moon Planet will be suppressed. Whether it's in terms of numbers or strength, they will surpass them." They had fought with the Colossal Beast race's Divine Star Venerables before and knew how strong they were. The difference in strength was relatively large. They had to go all out to resist the Colossal Beast race's attack. No matter what, we will still choose to go back. After all, Scarlet Moon Planet is our route. Divine Star Venerable Mei Qing sighed. They still plan to go back instead of continuing to hide on Desolate Dragon Planet. The elders of the other big families also nodded and also planned to return to Scarlet Moon Planet. If they didn't go back, they would regret it forever. "Very well, then I will also go with you," Tianyun suddenly said. "What? You will also go with us?" They were shocked and happy. They all thought that Tianyun wouldn't go to Scarlet Moon Planet. Who knew that he would go with them? They had all seen Tianyun's strength. If they could help, they would definitely be happy. Yes, that was my decision from the beginning. I just want everyone to be prepared, and those with weaker cultivations don't need to return to Scarlet Moon Planet. Tianyun said in a deep voice, "After all, if Scarlet Moon Planet falls, it will definitely affect Desolate Dragon Planet. The two families are so close, it will definitely have a great impact. Therefore I must go. Otherwise, Desolate Dragon Planet will not be peaceful either." Tianyun didn't want today's war to affect Desolate Dragon Planet again, so he planned to go to Scarlet Moon Planet. Chapter 2291. Naturally, they were very happy that Tianyun had taken the initiative to go over. With the help of such a powerhouse, even if they could not clean up the entire Giant Beast clan, they would at least have more power and hope. After making things clear, they quickly made preparations and began to rest and recuperate there. At the same time, Tianyun stretched out his hand and flicked his finger. The purple gold divine pavilion quickly disappeared. It was originally used for secluded cultivation. Now that the Giant Beast clan had been cleaned up, it naturally had to be taken back. Others found it inexplicable. It had suddenly appeared and disappeared, which made them feel very strange. After this battle, Many people were seriously injured. Even though they knew that Red Moon Planet was very dangerous, they could only heal their injuries here before returning. Otherwise, if they went back covered in injuries, they would basically die. It would be better not to go back. The various divine star venerates also began to recover. This battle had consumed a shocking amount of energy. It was good enough that they could stay alive, let alone suffer casualties. As long as they were not completely wiped out, they would win. While Tianyun was checking the situation, the heavenly cloud ancestral land had suffered heavy losses and was immersed in sorrow. Many of his former divine generals had died in this battle. However, he was not sad. These were all things that could be done through some means. He could drag their souls back and then resurrect them. This was a bit difficult, but at least it could be done. He did not need the help of the Death Clan. He could do it himself. Therefore, there was nothing to be sad about. He would definitely be able to resurrect them in the future. He had said this before. When his cultivation improved in the future, he would be able to resurrect them. As for getting the help of the Death Clan, this was really too difficult. If they were to be resurrected endlessly, it would be too harmful to them. After a period of rest, they all came to the side of the teleportation array. As expected, the teleportation array had been destroyed. It was not this side that had been destroyed, but the teleportation array on Red Moon Planet's side had been destroyed. This meant that a battle had begun on Red Moon Planet, and the city with the teleportation array had already fallen. The teleportation array has been destroyed. This time we have to cross the void. Mei Qing Divine Star Venerate and the others frowned. This way, they would have to spend a lot of time on the road. They had to admit that it was really awkward to have only one teleportation array. Who would have thought that this would happen? It had always been peaceful, and no one would have thought that the giant beast race would appear. Hence, there were no extra teleportation formations. Tianyun looked around. A group of cultivators had worried looks on their faces. If they were to fly over, it would take a long time. Although their cultivation wasn't low, it would still take a long time to cross the void to Scarlet Moon Star. It would take at least a week or two to reach Scarlet Moon Star. A week or two was not a long time for cultivators. It could be said to be the blink of an eye. However, given the current emergency situation, it was an extremely slow process. Perhaps the Scarlet Moon Planet would have been razed to the ground by the time he reached there. If everyone trusts me, then enter this space. I'll bring everyone there by breaking through the void. Tianyun extended his hand and a spatial treasure appeared in his hand. He gestured for all the cultivators to enter. Many cultivators looked at each other. Generally speaking, entering someone else's space was equivalent to entering a cage, and no one would be willing to enter it. All right, I'll go in first. Star Venerable Mei Qing took the lead and entered. He had already vowed to cooperate with Tianyun, so he had no problem entering. When the others saw Star Venerable Mei Qing enter, they also followed. With someone taking the lead, they naturally followed. They were very curious about what method Tianyun had used, but for now, they could only trust Tianyun. Your wife is very beautiful and very capable. Do you mind if I become your second cultivation companion? As Jing Xian was about to enter the space, she stared at Tianyun with a burning gaze. Such a crude and straightforward confession was really frightening. Thank you for your kindness, but I only want one cultivation companion in my life. Tianyun smiled and refused. Well, I will slowly make you change your mind. Jing Xian smiled at him. Such a bold confession, probably only Jing Xian could do it. After entering the space, Tianyun felt as if his back was being pricked by needles. This gaze belonged to none other than his wife, Shi Shuiyun. He turned his head and looked behind him. Shi Shuiyun came up to him and said with a sweet smile, "You're really outstanding." Someone even came, and it's the talented Jing Xian Great Star Venerable. You're really capable. You're flattering me. If I wasn't outstanding, would you have chosen me? Tianyun laughed dryly. His wife was watching him from the side. Even if he wanted to do that, he wouldn't dare to act recklessly. Of course, he wasn't interested in Jing Xian. You only know how to talk. Shi Shuiyun glared at him, then said worriedly, This time, you have to be careful when you go to Red Moon Planet. I know I can't dissuade you. I can only tell you to destroy the giant beasts and wait for your safe return." As she spoke, Shi Shuiyun smiled, her eyes filled with tears. She had experienced this scene many times. She was worried every time, but she could only stay at home and wait for news. This time, they finally went to the battlefield together, but Tianyun went to another battlefield. "Why are you crying? Don't worry. I'll definitely come back safely. In this world, there's basically no one who can kill me." Tianyun smiled at her. "Wait for my return." He reached out his hand to wipe away her tears and smiled. Then he turned around and took a step forward. He disappeared and left this area completely. "You must come back." Shi Shuiyun knew how dangerous it was, but she could only pray there. This time, they could finally stand on the front line. However, they really didn't want to participate in the battle on Red Moon Planet. "Next time, we'll definitely go one step further." Shi Shuiyun was confident that they could participate in the next battle and perform even better. In the blink of an eye, Tianyun was teleported to Red Moon Planet. It was convenient to teleport to Red Moon Planet with the teleportation God Stone. He didn't have to worry about the teleportation array being destroyed. When he first arrived at Crimson Moon Star, what greeted his eyes was a sea of fire. What was even more terrifying was that there were giant beasts everywhere. Primitive giant beasts madly rushed forward, and as long as it was a foreign race, they would tear it to pieces without hesitation. In addition to the giant beasts, there were also the evil spirit race and the green demon race. They were all killing crazily, turning the originally beautiful Red Moon Planet into the most terrifying battlefield. Even the sky above was shrouded in red. The battle had already begun, and Red Moon Planet was in a bitter battle. Chapter 2292. Roar. As soon as Tianyun arrived at Red Moon Planet, giant beasts immediately pounced on him. As long as they were from a different race, they would immediately rush over and destroy them. Their huge bodies didn't even reach him. With a light flick, the giant beasts that pounced on him turned into a mist of blood that scattered everywhere. Immediately after, he waved his hand and released all the cultivators he had placed in the space. When they came out and saw the situation in front of them, they were immediately stunned. Apart from being shocked by the situation in front of them, they were even more shocked that Tianyun had really brought them over. They had successfully arrived at Red Moon Planet in a short period of time, which made them very curious about how Tianyun had done it. However, that wasn't the key now. The real key was to deal with the giant beasts. "Oh my God, many areas have already fallen. My family. Let's go back and check on the situation of our family. Damn it, all of you giant beasts should die." They roared crazily and directly rushed back to the area where their families were located. Seeing this scene, their hearts were filled with worry. They didn't know what situation their families were in. However, under normal circumstances, their families had all kinds of protective arrays, so they shouldn't be breached in a short time. In an instant, they left one after another. Even Mei Qing Divine Star Venerate and the others flew back to the areas they were protecting. "I'll go with you," Tianyun said to Jing Xin. "Young Master Yi, are you willing to let me become your cultivation partner?" Jing Xin's beautiful eyes flickered. The strong possessiveness in her eyes could really scare people. "That's not what I meant. I just wanted to say that the giant beasts will definitely attack some of the more powerful families first. Maybe your family has been targeted, so if I go with you, we might encounter Divine Star Venerate level giant beasts," Tianyun quickly explained. "All right, thank you Tianyun Divine Star Venerate." Chu Hatong smiled awkwardly. This elder of his was really too bold. However, if the two of them really got together, he would really approve of it with both hands. He absolutely had no intention of rejecting it. Tianyun had the cultivation of a Divine Star Venerable, and he was so young. He would be a fool if he refused even this. Now that Tianyun said that he wanted to go with them, he was even more grateful. If they really encountered a Divine Star Venerable, they really wouldn't be able to deal with them easily. There's no need to stand on ceremony. I came here to eradicate the giant beast race in the first place. There's no time to lose. Let's head over now. Tianyun nodded, indicating for them to lead the way. At this moment, Chu Hedong took out a few jade tokens, but they were all shattered. As expected, I came here to send a message. Chu Hedong looked up. Scarlet Moon Planet had already been completely enveloped by the verbal compliance law. This was the Divine Star Venerable Rank's verbal compliance law. All messages were meaningless. Soon after, Chu Hedong brought Tianyun and rushed back to his clan with his fastest speed. Soon, after flying at high speed for a while, they finally arrived at the area where their family was located. The moment they arrived, they could see a huge city in the distance. It was being attacked by countless giant beasts in a frenzy. The thick barrier kept fluctuating, but it seemed like it hadn't been broken. However, if it was attacked by thousands of giant beasts, it probably wouldn't last for long. The huge city in front of them was actually the Chu clan. This was similar to the Tian clan. A so-called clan was basically the overlord of a region. The area they occupied was too large. They all had their own formations that could block all attacks. Fortunately, there aren't any problems for now. When Chu Hedong and the others saw this, they heaved a sigh of relief. They were most afraid that when they returned, they would see that the Chu clan's barrier had already been broken. At that time, everything would really become chaotic. This group of beasts, come with me to clean them all up. Chu Hedong led them and started to sweep away the giant beasts surrounding the clan. Originally, the Chu clan had been sending people to fight back. However, there were too many of them, and they couldn't deal with them quickly. Now that they had returned, and they were all Grand Star Venerables, it would be much easier to deal with these giant beasts. However, among these giant beasts, most of them were Star Lords and Star Venerables. Occasionally, there would be a small number of Grand Star Venerables. They were all in the most primitive state. Not all giant beasts could evolve. They had to be selected first. If they wanted to evolve, they would have to pay a lot of resources. If they could evolve at will, then none of the giant beasts in front of them would be in the giant beast state. Looking around, he really didn't see any giant beasts in the cultivator state, which surprised him. It seemed like the ordinary giant beasts were the main attackers, and their numbers were also the highest. The elders are back. When the Chu clan saw Chu Hedong and the others coming out, they started shouting happily. They had finally waited for their elders to return. There were 7 or 8 Grand Star Venerables, which was equivalent to more than half of the Chu clan's powerhouses. Now that they had returned, they undoubtedly felt more confident. Tianyun didn't stay idle either. He had come to see if there were any Divine Star Venerables. He didn't see any Divine Star Venerables, but there were so many giant beasts, so he wouldn't let them go. Soon after, he turned into a beam of flowing light and swept over. The cultivation of a Divine Star Venerate could be said to be completely overwhelming. He swept through everything in his way. His eradicating speed was much faster than Chu Hedong and the others. They weren't on the same level at all. At this speed, it wouldn't be a problem at all to clean up the giant beasts in this area. This kind of situation really frightened the people of the Chu clan. If such a terrifying power could sweep through their experts, wouldn't it be as easy as drinking water? Even the Grand Star Venerables turned into a bloody mist in the blink of an eye. They died thoroughly. Where did this powerhouse come from? They were all stunned. Soon, with Tianyun's support, it was very easy for them to clean up. Most of the giant beasts were taken care of, and the remaining ones were left to the others to deal with. Chu Hedong and the others returned to the clan and heaved a sigh of relief. It wasn't easy to clean up a large group of giant beasts. Where's the clan leader? Why don't I see him? Chu Hedong had been back for a long time, but he hadn't seen the clan leader come out to fight. Even if he was in seclusion, he should have come out by now, right? The clan leader was seriously injured and has been unconscious. That person said hatefully. The clan leader was clearing up the giant beasts outside when a Divine Star Venerable cultivator suddenly charged over and attacked the clan leader. Fortunately, the clan leader resisted, or he would have died right away. A Divine Star Venerable cultivator? They frowned, feeling that something was wrong. Yes, a divine star venerable cultivator. The strange thing is that the giant beasts didn't attack him. Those people were confused. Chapter 2293. After understanding the situation, Chu Hatong and the others roughly knew what was going on. It was indeed the giant beast clan that ambushed the clan leader. The most puzzling thing was that the divine star venerable giant beast clan immediately left after the ambush, instead of continuing to attack the barrier and annihilating the Chu clan. Tianyun was a little puzzled about this. He didn't know why the other party chose to attack and not continue to attack. Chu Hatong and the others quickly arrived at the clan leader's residence. Tianyun also followed them to visit. As soon as he entered the room, he saw an old man sitting by the bed, healing a man's injuries. Energy slowly flowed into the man's body to heal his injuries. When Tianyun saw this person clearly, his eyes narrowed. He roughly knew why the divine star venerable giant beast chose to leave. The old man in front of him was a divine star venerable powerhouse. He didn't expect the Chu clan to have a divine star venerable powerhouse. This wasn't surprising. Many of the top-ranked clans had divine star venerables, but some were in seclusion, while others were out traveling. They didn't know the details. "Grandpa, how's Dad?" Jing Xen hurried over, her face filled with worry and anxiety. No wonder Jing Xen was such a genius. Not only was her father the clan leader, but her grandfather was also a divine star venerable. "Xen, you're back." Chu Suifeng looked at her with a kind gaze and said with a faint smile, "Don't worry. With Grandpa here, your father will be fine." "It's good that he's fine, it's good that he's fine." Jing Xian looked at her father. Although his face was pale, his aura was relatively stable. With a divine star venerable healing him, unless he was really dead, as long as he still had a breath left, he could be saved. After speaking, he seemed to sense the situation on Tianyun's side. When he raised his eyes and looked over, he revealed a bit of surprise. What a young divine star venerable! He immediately sensed that Tianyun's cultivation had reached the divine star venerable level. One's age might be concealed by one's appearance, but one's aura couldn't be concealed. He could sense that Tianyun was very young, but he couldn't sense how young he was. "Greetings, Star Sovereign Chu." Tianyun cupped his hands in greeting. Chu Suifeng nodded and stood up. He sized him up and asked doubtfully, "I wonder which faction you're from to be able to nurture such a young divine star venerable?" "Grandpa, he is the owner of the unique star Dharma that appeared on planet Desolate Dragon a long time ago." Jing Xian explained. "The owner of the Desolate Dragon Star's unique star Dharma." Chu Suifeng looked surprised. He didn't think that Tianyun would be that person. "I can't believe that the Desolate Dragon Star could have such a genius. What a surprise. I don't know why they are here. Did something happen on Wild Dragon Star?" Chu Suifeng's face became serious. "Grandpa, it's actually like this." After Jing Xian explained the situation of the Desolate Dragon Star to Chu Suifeng, he nodded his head. "The giant beast clan is really scheming. I didn't think that they would have such terrifying power when they made a comeback." Chu Suifeng thanked Tianyun. "Thank you, Heavenly Cloud Divine Star Venerable, for coming to help. Fortunately, I just came out of seclusion and sensed danger outside, so I rushed out immediately. If I had been one step later, Chu Liang wouldn't have been able to make it. The giant beast clan is too ruthless. They have extremely terrifying poison. I spent a lot of effort to remove the poison. Ordinary medicinal pellets don't have any effect. I have to force it out bit by bit." Chu Suifeng said in a low voice, "I wanted to trap him, but he seemed to have sensed danger and ran away immediately. If he had been one step later, I would have definitely kept him here." Chu Suifeng's eyes became cold. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. His son was beaten up like that. How could he not be angry? If he had been one step later, he would have been dead. If it weren't for protecting his family, he would have chased after them. However, he was worried that they would lure him away, so he stayed here. More importantly, he had to treat Chu Liang's injuries. Tianyun didn't doubt Chu Suifeng's words at all. Chu Suifeng's cultivation was not bad. He was a mid-stage Divine Star Venerable. He was much stronger than the Divine Star Venerables he had seen before. If the other party was an early-stage Divine Star Venerable beast, then Chu Suifeng would have no problem keeping him here. So that's how it is. No wonder that Divine Star Venerable beast turned around and ran. Now that Scarlet Moon Planet is getting more and more dangerous, I plan to go out and find the location of those Divine Star Venerable beasts. Tianyun didn't plan to stay here. With Chu Suifeng holding the fort here, he didn't have to worry about anything. Heavenly Cloud Divine Star Venerable, I'll go with you. Chu Suifeng stood up and said coldly, the situation here is temporarily fine. As long as it's not a Divine Star Venerable, we can deal with them. If a Divine Star Venerable comes, then I will kill my way back and trap them to death. Moreover, I have a general idea of where they will attack. Chu Suifeng's eyes were filled with killing intent. He hated the giant beast race to the extreme. Now that his son had been injured, he was even more furious. Divine Star Venerable Chu, you still know where they will attack? Tianyun's eyes lit up. He didn't know how to find the giant beast race's Divine Star Venerable, but Chu Suifeng actually knew where they were. Yes, I've deduced a bit of the area. Chu Suifeng pinched his fingers and deduced the general situation. Tianyun came to a sudden realization. No wonder Chu Suifeng knew. It turned out that he knew this kind of deduction technique. Jing Exen was so proficient in this type of technique. She probably learned it from Chu Suifeng. All right, then let's move together. Tianyun nodded. It was definitely a good thing to have someone to help. At the same time, in another area, the Tian family had already fallen. They were being attacked by all kinds of giant beasts, and there were countless casualties. Tian Yuan and Tian Xinghuan were both helping out in the Tian family. Although they had chosen to leave the Tian family, they still chose to come back to help when the Tian family was in such a crisis. When Tianyun brought them back, they directly flew to the Tian family. The Tian family's situation was much worse than the Chu family's, and they fell very quickly. Now they were in a bitter battle. If they didn't have strong support, the Tian family would probably be finished. You two leave quickly. Tian Yueming quickly retreated to Tian Yoyuan's side after resisting a wave of beasts. We won't leave. If we leave, the Tian family will really be finished. Tian Xinghuan said in a deep voice. If you don't leave, then we'll really be finished. Tian Yueming looked at them and sighed. I'm already very grateful that you can still come to help the Tian family. I've let you down in the past, and I don't ask for your forgiveness. However, this is my stubbornness. Everything is for the Tian family. As long as the Tian family can prosper, I'm willing to sacrifice anything. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.